episode of the How Long to Beat podcast, a podcast by members of the community for members of the community, where we talk about video games and how long to beat them. My name is Matt, and I'm with Leah.
Hello.
Roy.
What's up?
And unfortunately not Diallo. He will be out of commission for the day. Fine and dandy, because we still have enough video games to blabber on about. Because in this episode, as we're gonna start with the usual of what we have been playing lately, we will also be doing a little recap of a recent community event on the forums called Itchmas in July, for which we have played a couple of free indie games that we will discuss. But first, the regular, what have we beaten recently? All right, tell me about your pinball adventure, Roy.
All right, I'll tell you about my pinball adventure, which mostly came into effect from watching you and the other people on the Discord playing NES pinball, which I beat in the sense anyone beats a pinball table that doesn't have like anything hidden in it. Like,
Yeah.
Technically this is an endless game, I suppose, but mostly just was trying to get and beat the high scores, which I got the high score for Game A right now, unless somebody came in and I didn't see.
Right.
But
No,
Game
I think
B,
that's still standing, yeah.
There you go. I'm one half of the way there.
Which is just the same thing, just fast. Game A is slow, Game A B is fast.
Yeah. Which I gotta say, I think the game works better as Game A. I don't know why, but I swear on Game B, it feels like the ball is more likely to just bounce around where you can't do anything and just go out of bounds. I feel like the physics maybe get a bit wonky, but that could have just been me, or me being bad. I mean, it's NES pinball. What can I truly say? It's a really basic pinball game, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I do think I got more inherent enjoyment because of the fact I was trying to beat somebody else's high score. At the same time, I feel like with NES pinball, that was probably part of the intended experience. It is weird.
Probably,
I don't think it naturally saves your high score, though.
Yeah, we talked about the battery theory last time, yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be. If you like pinball or you just want to waste some time on the NES, it's worth it. Another kind of game like that that's on the NES is another one I beat, although it has an actual, like, beatable amount of levels, which is Battleship for the NES. Classic chaser from pinball. Battleship. We all know it. But this was more interesting than I expected, honestly. So, you know, I feel like everybody knows Battleship, so I don't need to explain how it works. But I think the cool thing for this one is that you got like special attack patterns where you could hit multiple tiles at the same time. And some of them were like kind of weird attack patterns too. Like crisscross checkered kind of. Or 2 on far diagonals, 2 in the middle, stuff like that. And it felt like it did add a good element of strategy in the sense that if you knew what you were doing, you could be like, well, if I hit this or I do this, then I can cover odd tiles this can't cover. There was a lot of times where I was like, all right, if I shoot my shots like this, I can cover all tiles that aren't covered by my 2-hit special, and then I can special this to make sure I have hits there, stuff like that. And some of those specials can take out a ship in like one shot if you have an idea of where it is. Because they're like 3 or 4 lines in a row. So I thought that was actually a pretty interesting wrinkle to the Battleship formula. And they have like 5 or 6 different ships as well. And I thought it was interesting the specials are tied to the ships. So you can't just like use them whenever. You gotta make sure you use them before your ship sinks.
Oh.
I suppose the biggest downside for this game is that despite being Battleship, there's no 2-player mode. Which, like, I've played like 30 levels of this against the computer. The computer doesn't cheat at least, so that's nice. But, like, honestly, if there was a 2-player mode of this, I probably would have asked somebody to hop on and play with me.
I wonder if there's no 2-player mode because they couldn't figure out a way to do it where the other player doesn't see the board of.
Yeah, that was my assumption because you just have to work on the honor system of turning around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will say I think it would have been worth it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it won't always work, but I don't know. Actually, honestly, better than I expected. Like, solid game. Enjoyed myself a reasonable amount. It does feel pretty easy to beat the computer overall. The computer kind of gets better, but it never gets that intense or anything. It honestly gave me the idea that something like a Battleship roguelike would probably be a fun game.
It sounds like something you could find on Itch somewhere in the depths.
Probably. Yeah, that's Battleship. There's
Hell
only
yeah.
so much to say about it.
Yeah.
I guess next I'll say was Hypnospace Outlaw, which I did playing part of my Game Pass adventure I've kind of mentioned going on. This is a game I've like heard about, I've seen. A friend also said they were interested in me playing it, so I was rather interested in this one. I would say it largely lived up to expectation with a few caveats. So this game is kind of like a 90s, early 2000s internet simulator, I guess is the best way I would describe the real point of it. Very much like, for all of you in the audience out there who are old enough to remember GeoCities and stuff like that, that's like the kind of thing I'm thinking of here. The best part of this game is definitely the presentation. It has really good visuals that get across the era and vibes it's going for well. It has an extremely good soundtrack because every single page has like a specific song key to that page. Many of them are vocal. They do a good job of going from everything to like house music to parody to like dad rock kind of energy for what would be dad rock at that time period. Yeah, I mean, it even has like multiple like in-universe music styles, like chill punk, which is like combining like chill house vibes with like Christmas songs and music commercials to create like a music
Huh?
genre within the game. There's some really interesting stuff in that regard. The gameplay is pretty on its face. You're basically a moderator of this early web. It's called Hypnospace though, because it's basically the internet while you're asleep. You like put on a
Oh.
headband and you connect to the internet while you're asleep. And you're basically moderating the forum, choosing what to do, that kind of stuff. It does get somewhat of a story turn later, but to be honest, the main story really wasn't the focus, in my opinion. The main story was there. It provides like an epilogue and stuff that was a bit interesting, though maybe didn't deliver on everything it could have, in my opinion. But it wasn't really the point of the game. Honestly, the biggest downside to me is that I had to restart this game partway through because I accidentally skipped the biggest segment of the game, and I think because the skip is intentional, mind you, and I just stumbled on it. But I think it's way too easy to stumble on the skip by accident, because I took what I would consider to be a very normal course of action, basically, and then there's no way to go back. You have to start over if you want to see the biggest part of the game, or you'll be very confused and also miss like probably half of the game's gameplay.
You think it's just for like replay purposes to get to a different ending or something quicker?
Here's what it is. I actually read about it because, like I said, it was
Okay.
intentional. Originally, it was an unintentional thing that was in the game that speedrunners found and used.
Mm-hmm.
In like the first chapter, because this game's like divided into 3 chapters. There was something like that in the first chapter where you could go to a guy's page and do something, I'll be a bit vague, and you would just skip to the 3rd day. Well, they didn't want you to have that many skips, so they made it so that you don't skip on the 1st day. But if you go back to the guy's page and do something, you skip the day, and you just go to the 3rd day. And it makes sense, like, if you know that beforehand, because, you kind of know going into it, oh, guy's page, this or that, it's like a reference. But when I didn't play, going to that guy's page and doing what I did, again, I'm being vague because this is a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah.
I would say it was like one of the most natural first actions because it's actually the first and only like you get like requests of what you're supposed to do each chapter. And what skips you the chapter is completing the very first request you get. and at first the only request you have. You're supposed to
Huh.
like not immediately get it and like wait for a few more requests to come in. But I don't think there's really any way for a new player to realistically know that.
I guess you were too good at the game.
Apparently, I mean, I would have had a sick
Yeah.
time if I decided to roll with it.
Yeah.
But maybe one or two of the puzzles was a bit cryptic, stuff like that. I'm pretty sad that apparently they were gonna make. I knew they were gonna make a sequel of this based on some stuff in the game, but I guess it just got canceled like a week
Oh.
or two ago. I think at this point, maybe a bit longer. Like after I
Yeah,
played
I
it
did hear
before
about
we
that.
recorded this. Yeah, it was
Huh.
unfortunate because I was
Yeah.
kind of looking forward to it.
Wasn't that the game that from what I remember about the story is that he was working on that game before this one, and then he put that aside to work on this one, and now I guess like the scope of that game is beyond what he was able to do currently, so he just kind of shelved it or canceled it rather.
I don't know about the first part of that because I know that when they were working on Hypnospace Outlaw, there's like a car mini game in Hypnospace Outlaw, and that was originally the whole game. But and then like they were building the internet browser stuff around it just as like a side thing, and they're like, this is way more fun. We'll build the game around that. I think maybe the one they canceled they were thinking of before that, but I honestly don't remember. So you watchers fact check us and get back to us.
Yeah. Very nice.
And then the last game on this list I'm really excited to talk about, by the way, which is Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which I did finish like late last month, early this month kind of thing. This game is really, really good.
So I've heard.
You've heard it, but man, I really enjoyed this game from start to finish. This game immediately comes out swinging, doesn't stop. The ending was amazing. Like, without spoilers, there's like a choice to be made near the end of the game, and legitimately, I spent about 30 minutes debating with myself what I wanted to do. And I'm the kind of guy who likes to really think about my choices, but that's the most I've thought about choice in this kind of game in a long time. It really worked well. It's still very visually impressive. The models are really well done. I love that a game with clearly maybe not a AAA budget, debatable, but quite a budget behind it, decided to make something that's very weird, not just realistic. I don't know the exact style it would be, but you can tell this is like some French 1800s art style that I don't know enough about French 1800s art style to say, but like it's very distinct. Like one thing I enjoy is like, well, if you know me, and you've probably maybe noticed from hearing games I've talked about, I like RPGs a lot. They're one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, I
But
guessed.
yeah, I'm crazy, I know. But one thing I will say is that you do see a lot of aesthetic similarities between certain types of JRPGs and Western RPGs. A lot of JRPGs that like to go with the Dragon Quest Final Fantasy mode. A lot of Western RPGs that are inspired by Dungeons and Dragons or Lord of the Rings or generally like medieval European fantasy. You all know what I mean. And I don't mind
Yeah.
that because I like that. But this game being so distinctly French and very like this game is extreme. You can beat up bonus boss mimes to get outfits called baguette.
Oh boy.
Okay, this game is French, and like
Yeah.
it was just really nice to see something that was so clearly outside of the norm for so much of this kind of genre. To me, I thought that was really good. The gameplay remained exciting to the end. It's very like Mario and Luigi, Paper Mario, Legend of Dragoon kind of stuff, but like the dodge options get very varied. The game mixes it up. I did find a build I liked for a lot of characters kind of by the mid game, so maybe I didn't explore the depths of it. But I could also tell there were so many other ways I could take the battle system if I wanted to. It's really just how I wanted to do it, basically. There's just a lot of small things about this. I like that your reserve party members come in if your starting party members go out. And you get like a whole last stand of Expedition 33 little moniker, and it just has like a good energy to it, especially if you then beat whatever was kicking your ass before. There's a lot of bonus bosses and bonus information. The game had a lot of like a plot that genuinely got twists and turns I didn't guess, even when I got certain aspects of it right. The structure is very interesting. I do think the last act structure maybe could have been a bit better, but I won't go into spoilers about why. Because like I could get specific, but it would require spoiling a really major plot element, so I won't. But like, the only reason this isn't the best game I played all year is I played Persona 3 Reload, and I think that's a bit unfair because I already played Persona 3 before.
Yeah.
But like, if we're talking new games, easily the best game I played all year. I suspect, although maybe I will, because like Deltarune exists, I suspect I'm not going to play anything better all year. And like,
You think Deltarune has a shot at being better than Clarobscur?
Yes. I've done well. I think it helps that like Deltarune, I haven't even played the first or second chapter of it. I've kind of to an extent been waiting, so I'm gonna get like a continuous experience. But I've heard people talk about it. I've seen it. Undertale was a 10 out of 10 game for me that is close to this kind of game anyway. So Deltarune seems like it's at least of similar quality. I'll give it a chance, you know. And like maybe there's some other games I could play this year, but Deltarune is the main one I think that's like recent and new. And I'm not gonna play like Donkey Kong Bonanza this year, I imagine, because I won't get a Switch 2 in time.
Me neither, buddy. Me neither.
This is what I think I rank this as like the 7th best game I've ever beaten or played.
Damn. Okay.
So, pretty much anyone who is willing to play a JRPG, and it's not a very long one either, I want to note. You can beat this game in a much more modest, it's not like a 100-hour Persona game or something.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty modest. I suspect that if you didn't want to do a bunch of the side quests I did, you could beat it in like 20 to 25 hours. It's much more of a svelte one. I recommend anybody who's willing to play an RPG to try this out.
We'll see about that.
Well, it's a recommendation anyway, but I believe that's the last game I have to talk about at this moment.
Tell us about what we should talk. Yeah. What should we talk about?
This is connected to one of the Itchmas games that we'll talk about later, but it kind of reminded me of this game. So I went back and I knew that this game had multiple endings, and I've beaten it before, but I didn't remember how many endings. And I know this other game that we will be talking about has 2 endings. So I was like, this probably has more branching paths that I can take. So I found like 100% achievement on this one, and I was like, sure, this is a short game. I think it takes like 30 minutes to play one game of it. So I've slowly been making my way. So I think I have like 5 endings to go, but technically I did beat it again, so I put it in this section. It's an interesting game. It's basically about I'm not even sure if they explain like the gender of your character, but you're just at a bar and your partner is at home, and your ex is at the bar, and there's a bartender, and there's like all these different paths where like you can flirt with the bartender, you can flirt with the guy that's at the bar. You know, the strange thing is at the beginning, your partner calls and they're like, "Oh, I have dinner ready for you. What time will you be home?" And your character is like, "Oh, I'm at the bar." And I'm like, clearly, immediately, there's miscommunication. The fact that they didn't even know that you were going to the bar where they were going to make your dinner and expecting you to still be at work. But it doesn't really I guess leaves it up to interpretation where they are in the relationship. Did they just make this dinner for you and you're just dating? Like, that's kind of strange to me, to be like, that far into a relationship where like you don't know where they are, but you're making them a dinner that they are expecting also. So yeah, right? And so like it's one of those very like the more I think about it, it's just very confusing where like if you think about it too long, you're like, nobody would have framed it like that. But what's also interesting is that the choices that they give you can change the way that the sentence is. It's not just like sentence choice A, sentence choice B, sentence choice C. Like it'll be like, darling, baby, your name as like the first section of the sentence, and then the next section of the sentence is, you know, I'll be right home. I'm at the bar. Oh, sorry, I'm here. And then the last one will be like, you know, see you later, do this. So it's like there's so many different options for so many different sentences that you can say. You know, you're talking to the bartender and your girlfriend, you're talking to the partner at home through texting, and you can be like, the bartender said hi, or Sarah said hello, or, you know, oh, darling, the bartender is asking for you, or like you talk to the bartender and you're like, oh, my girlfriend says this, or like Diane says this. So it's like how well do you want them to know that you're with this person? You know, do you call them by name or whatever like that? So, and even with like the person at the bar, you can be like, oh, this person is here, like completely glossing over the fact that they're your ex, or you can be like, my ex is here, or this person is in town. How long are they in town for? So it's like you can decide how much information you give to each person in this quest of the night, I guess. But most interesting thing to me about this game is that there's so many different ways that you can phrase it, where it's like I feel like in a lot of these games where they give you choices, say yes or say no, and then you say no, and they're like, actually, yeah, I don't really want to do that. And I'm like, why would you say that's not what I meant by no, you know? Where like they completely change what you're actually going to say, and they like trick you that way. So it's interesting to like take different paths in this and see like what the different sentences break, the different parts of the sentence will break up and branch you off to something else. So, and it's nice that it's short, because then that makes it a lot easier to replay when they're shorter games, I think, if they have like a lot of those branching things. Because there's another one in the Itchmas in July that also had like different endings, but it took so long to get through that I was like, I don't want to see the other endings by this point. So you know, I like when they have multiple endings and they're short, because then I can just, you know, go through them really fast like that. But that's the only game. Yeah. That's the only game on my list for this section. On to you, Matt.
Right. At least you beat one thing.
Yes, I did it.
Yeah, and I beat a bunch of crap as usual, so get ready for some weird stuff.
Won't have it any other way.
Yeah. I have a little story to tell as well, because between last episode and this episode, I had a little bit of a vacation from work, and I was really excited to get some gaming in that time. And literally on the morning of my first day of vacation, I tried to turn on my PC, and it just didn't do it. Turns out that thing was toast. Couldn't use it for my entire vacation. It was done. It was gonzo. And so, being a PC gamer, I was kind of left in the dark. So to get my gaming fix, I had to look otherwhere. Again, I'm not a console person, so most of the things I've beaten in that time were either on my phone or on this old hacked 3DS that I have laying around for some reason. And so I did pick a bit of an odd assortment of games, I guess, to play. One that I've spent a lot of time with, starting with a mobile game here, is called Ultimate Mill. I have in previous episodes said that I enjoy the classic board game of Mill, aka Nine Men's Morris, quite a lot. And I took this opportunity of, you know, less PC time to, I don't know, get a bit of a digital Mills board game in my pocket to practice or whatever. And Ultimate Mill was just like one of the top results when I searched in the App Store. It's not a fancy app at all. It's just, I guess, some hobbyist threw this together with wonky visuals and barely functioning menus. Very clearly also made for online play, but you will not find another soul online to play with. So what I did was play the different AI difficulties for hours on end. I spent combined 3 hours trying to beat all 7 difficulty AI on the classic square mill board, which I think the hardest of those AI probably took up like 1 hour each or whatever, while the easiest ones early on, of course, were like a breeze through. But generally beating them one after the other and finally getting to the last one and tricking him into throwing the game basically was very, very satisfying. And I can say that the mind games against goddamn computer as well. I'm always like very wary of playing logic games against computers because of course they already know. They know exactly what the perfect move is. So you kind of gotta trust in most cases that the developer just left open the tiny gap that it could make a conscious error to win or something. But I don't know, I kind of did it. I felt very smart about it. I celebrated and threw my arms in the air and shouted. It was very, very satisfying. And I can say that I also just learned a couple, basic but actual strategies in this board game that I was able to use while playing against real human beings later on, which was pretty neat. I also spent an additional hour in that app trying to beat those same 7 difficulty AIs on like an irregular pentagon-shaped board, which is not a classic element of the game, but they added it for the app, and that was pretty decent as well. Not as hard as the original board. I'm not sure why. But that is that. That is enough Mills talk. There's two more mobile games that I've played, the Birdcage and the Birdcage 2, which I'm pretty sure Leah has talked about the Birdcage games before.
Yes.
And yeah, that's basically why they were on my radar at all. And to as a recap, the Birdcage games are basically puzzle games, escape room style games, but but instead of escaping a room, you are freeing a bird from a bird cage. So all the like puzzle elements are around this cage. You move around this object, try to do all the different elements until you unlock the key and let the creature out. This goes into some, fantasy elements later on as you also free some mystical creatures like dragons and whatnot, and griffins or whatever, especially in the second game of those. And they both of those games, as mobile games tend to do, have like a free version with a limited amount of levels. I paid for both of these to have all the stuff available. And I think I completed both of them 100%. The first game has not just the puzzles, it also has like a tiny little mechanic where you can find some hidden objects in each level to get some bonus story, lore, or whatever. And the second game expands on that, where you can still find little hidden items in each level, which unlock hints to find bigger, more important hidden items in the levels that like give you the proper credit roll ending. First of all, the Birdcage, the first game, like the puzzles are fine, but they are not like super challenging or whatever. It's like a pretty dang, chill puzzle game. It's a nice thing to do, some clever little ideas, but it's not like, a hardcore brain teaser or anything. I think the Birdcage 2 has a bit more variety in the puzzle types, and also some were a bit more challenging, I thought. The real proper challenges, I believe, once you get all the hints, once you unlock all the hints, you are tasked to find, the levels are sorted up in a way that you have, I believe, 6 creatures or whatever, with each having 5 levels to clear. And when you get all the hint things from collecting optional collectibles, you get a hint to find a bigger, more important hidden item, one for each creature. So I don't know if you have the dove, the pigeon, with its 5 levels, you have a bunch of text hints, and now have to find where in those 5 levels is like the secret mechanic, and how do I open this? Which is a cool idea because it really has you exploring these puzzle boxes in a different, like from a different point of view. But also, I do believe some of those clues were very nebulous and very odd that I had to look up a video for at least one of them, where I was like on the right track, but it didn't really, the final meaning of the clue didn't really translate well in my brain. So I had some help there. But
Could have been a bit less
conceptually,
cryptic kind of thing.
yeah, that's that sort of thing, exactly. But conceptually, a cool idea to expand these, and I did eventually get all there is to do, got the credit roll, and called it 100% completion. There's a third game which is the only one out of these that also has like a proper PC release, which is also seems like a. It was first on mobile and then got like an expanded and more cleaned out PC release or whatever, which I have already purchased on Steam, and I will be happily playing that as well at some point. Just a good solid concept with a good, solid puzzle assortment, variety. It's good stuff. And people say there are no good games on mobile phones, but they do exist. Just gotta know
really
about
do.
them. Yeah. That is all for my mobile escapades. Then there's, like I said, the 3DS, the old dusty hacked 3DS was my other way to play games during that time. And I wanted to play some games that hopefully make some actual use of the hardware. And out of all things, I ended up playing a little thing called Face Racer's Photo Finish.
Honestly, just from the title, I would expect to be a Mac game, so.
Very, very interesting.
I have this too, and it's very enjoyable. So I'm glad somebody finished it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Would have never expected to meet another person that has played this, but cool. Okay. Well,
we got a couple of Face Racer fans here.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
Face Racer's Photo Finish is unsurprisingly a kart racing game with the big draw, I guess, is that you can take pictures of your face for your little character. So you take like 4 different pictures depicting different emotions, and then those get like used during the race. Other than that, this is a very basic and regular kart racing game. Not a bad one. I do believe this is a decent racing game, but honestly, nothing special to write home about or whatever. The face photo mechanic really is the only special thing about it. What that comes with, though, which I loved, is that all the other in a regular kart racing game, you have a roster of characters to choose from. In this racing game, the roster of characters is literally, the dev team or whatever, with their actual pictures that they took in horrible lighting in some corner of their office. And it's just so wild to see these very candid, low quality 3DS camera pictures of random people as like playable characters and as your enemies and whatever. I think my favorite item as well in this was, I guess, the equivalent to the Mario Kart Squid Ink thing. In this game, you get one of the faces, the face of the user shows up on your screen to cover up everything with like a clown mask around it. And it's just It's like the only effective use of these face pictures, because otherwise you don't see them doing the race.
That's pretty great, though. Not gonna lie.
It's so corny. It
makes me think of like Nintendogs and Smash.
No. Oh yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But yeah, this was not at all the worst racing game. Far from it that I've played. It was completely serviceable, completely fine, and I did beat it all the way through, unlocking all the different difficulty championships and getting gold on them all. I did it all. I grinded the shit out. And I will probably never, ever think back of this. So,
I mean, you never know.
That is that. I don't know. I spent 4.5 hours on this.
Until it gets revived for Switch 2.
Never, ever. I guess they could. Never, ever. I would rather expect him to revive Face Raiders. That shooting game where you hold the camera and shoot different faces in the sky and whatever. That was on the DS somewhere.
Hear me out, Matt. Face Zero.
No, stop it. That took a bit for me to register. I don't know if I like that, to be honest.
You'd have to check it out.
That actually gives me flashbacks to when my dad we had our first Photoshop or whatever, and he took an image of Dr. Stewart, the F-Zero character I always played, and photoshopped my child face on that and gave it to me to cheer me up or whatever. I guess that would literally be what Face Zero would be.
Yeah, it would. Put your face on Captain Falcon or whatever.
No, I want to be Dr. Stewart. He has the golden fox. He's way cooler.
That's fair. Dr. Matt.
Fuck. Dr. Matt.
Right.
All
We
right.
need to start hacking some Switch 2s.
Hell yeah. Worms Pinball is a thing that exists. It's a virtual pinball table based on the popular Team 17 Worms franchise. I don't know why it is a thing, but I did buy it on Steam. For some reason, I remember my dad having this on a laptop when I was a child, although he hated Worms and he was also not a fan of pinball. So I don't know how that happened. I didn't care about this as a kid either, but now being in my much more mature and refined a pinball phase as an adult, I kind of fucked with this heavy, as the kids say these days.
Dude, I was just thinking you fucked with this. We have the same thought.
My fucking god.
I didn't want to interrupt you talking, but
yeah. Well, to be fair, to be honest, Worms Pinball technically is a fine pinball table design. It's not amazing, but something about the flow of it just worked for me, and I kind of got really into it, playing it, as a podcast game while binge listening to other podcasts. And let me really quick. I spent many evenings and nights on this, to a total of 11 hours. Just realizing that again is making me lose my mind. I played this one stupid Worms pinball table for 11 hours, trying to get on the number 1 of the leaderboard.
Did you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, well, getting to number 2 wasn't too difficult, but getting that number 1 spot was fucked up. And I only got it barely. Like the winning run, I died and lost my last ball just short of the threshold that I needed to reach in score. And the bonus I had accumulated that gets then added, after the fact, was just enough to push me up to the first place. And I was, jumping out of my chair and shouting at like probably 1 a.m. at night or whatever, waking up my neighbors. That shit was so satisfying. Oh my god.
Your
Now
neighbors are like, honey, he's playing a pinball game again.
Yeah.
I know, dear.
Probably. They probably all hate me, honestly, which is fine. And I will probably never touch this pinball game again. I wouldn't be surprised if I was the only human being spending this much time in the year of 2025 on this thing. Pinball table could very much be a real table. They didn't like do some crazy wacky shit. There's some Worms theming, like some Worms, mini games on the LED screen where you fly around the Super Sheep, which is a weapon in the regular series and whatnot. And you get the Worms music and whatnot. But it really doesn't do anything unrealistic or too Wormsy. It's just like a regular, real, professional table with a Worms dress up. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Kinda. That makes it less interesting for most people, I believe. And that's why it's forgotten and nobody plays it.
Oh, no.
Damn, brutal.
Forgotten.
It is on Steam, though. You can
time.
buy it right now. Even though it's like 20 years old. Yeah.
After that wonderful sentence of recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he spent 11 hours on it. It must be good.
That's
and
true.
I have played worse Worms games as well.
And worse pinball games for sure, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. Pinball NES sucks against Worms Pinball.
We got a pinball rivalry in here. For once, I have a retired and paused game on here. Crazy, I know.
Fricked up.
It's Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012. I tried this with my Game Pass subscription, which requires you to download EA Origin, which sucks, by the way.
Oh, boy.
Not only because, first off, EA Origin, self-explanatory. Yeah. But also, it just didn't run that great. I would have liked to be able to play this on the cloud. I don't know why this didn't run that great. Like, my computer's not great, but this is a pretty old game. It should be able to run it fine. And that's the main reason I stopped, is that the performance wasn't there. Because I actually want to play a bunch of the Need for Speed games and stuff, because I like racing games. I played this, 10 or 12 minutes, played the first mission, and I could tell, there was stutter and stuff, and my driving was getting messed up because of it, so I just quit. But I would say one of the things that's fucked up, if you lose access to EA Origin, because you're not paying for it anymore, for example, and the game is still downloaded, you can't undownload it through EA Origin. You have to go into your games installed folders to undownload it or uninstall it.
No.
Because when you try to go to the game page on EA Origin, it's like, well, you aren't paying it, so you can't download it. But I want to uninstall it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I had to say about Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012.
Awesome. I heard you made some pizzas.
Yeah. Pizza Maker, honestly, I don't know why this was on my list, but it was on my Deco deals, and I saw that it was $2. It was on sale for $2, and I was like, sure, okay, let's do it. But it's a terrible game. It's not made for Switch. It's not. First of all, I loaded it up, and then there's nothing on the screen that will tell you at the menu what to do. There's mentions of pizza on the side. There's the title, and it says play. Play isn't highlighted, so you know to click a button. And so I'm pressing every single button I can to figure out what will make play select, so I know to that's the selection I want. Take me to the actual game. Couldn't figure it out. Quit the game. Went back in. Accidentally, my hand hit the analog stick, and the cursor flew out from the corner. So this game on Switch cannot use the touch screen or any of the buttons. You have to use the analog to move it around and do everything on there. So that was the first thing that I was this may not. Yeah, I was already I'm this is not gonna be a great time. So I started the game, went in, and basically it's good pizza, great pizza, or whatever the name of that one game. So anyway, back to Pizza Maker. Tried to make a pizza. None of the ingredients are labeled. So like obviously you know what a boiled egg looks like. Also, why are there boiled eggs as an ingredient? But
I know people that do that eat that on pizza. Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah.
The guy was just like, I want these 5 things with tomato sauce on a pizza. I was like, okay, cool. I look and I'm like, clearly the red sauce must be the pizza. Well, you know, the tomato sauce. So I put that on there. Cheese. There's Swiss cheese, tiny Swiss cheese, but then there's also shredded mozzarella cheese. And I was like, which cheese are you talking about? There's no way for me to know. So I just put I was like, Swiss cheese, I guess is cheese. I don't know what the other cheese is. So I put that on the pizza, and he was like, "Oh, cut it into 8. Where's the tools to cut the pizza? No idea. Go to the next screen, and they give you the little pizza cutter. I go to cut the pizza, and they flung it off the screen, and now I can't get to the pizza cutter again because I can't reach past the screen to get it. So I just give him half a cut pizza, and he's like, "Awesome, great," and he gives me the full price that he was gonna pay. And I'm like, "It's not even the order you asked for." So I go through a couple more of those, and then somebody was like, "I want white sauce," and I'm like, "Which is the white sauce? I don't even know. Nothing is like, there's no instructions or anything." I didn't even know if I was cooking it properly because there's a little timer on the pizza oven, and it was going like all the way around, but there's like a little section of red. But I thought that was supposed to be the timer for how much I had to make the pizza, not the cooking time. So the first one came out burnt. The second one, I was like, oh, I guess I have to do it before it gets to this certain point, whatever. Would have been helpful to have a tutorial at least, but I guess we're just, doing this with warbugging. But like, I put it into the oven and then accidentally clicked it and it came out of the oven. Couldn't put it back in the oven. So now I have to give this other person a raw pizza. I was like, this game... I think I may have played like maybe 8 minutes altogether, but I was just like, no, this isn't happening. So I immediately retired it because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing and if I'm doing it right, and I'm not being penalized for doing it wrong. So what is the purpose of this game?
To have fun, use your imagination. You can pretend to be a pizza maker.
To learn that people put boiled eggs on a pizza.
I could have told you that, honestly, yeah.
I would have saved $2.
Yeah. Next time, ask me about pizza on eggs on pizza. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm looking at a trailer of this. It does look weird, but I also cannot find a PC release, even though it's very clearly, like you said, a mouse-controlled thing. It's very strange. I don't
understand who decided this was a good idea to put on Switch. But
it's interesting.
I'm glad you bought it.
That's for sure.
If only to make people aware and not to buy it. Make your own pizza. Do not go by the game.
Definitely.
God. It definitely sounds like a bad game.
Yep. Also, write in the comments if you put boiled egg on pizza. I would be very interested in that. All right.
Just give us your weirdest pizza toppings that you use.
Give us your fucking freakiest pizza shit.
Yes.
Please.
I would love to hear this, actually.
I have also wasted money on a video game, actually. This is a perfect segue. During my vacation without a PC, I decided to use it to go to an actual physical arcade for once. Early on a weekday where nobody's gonna be there. I have probably not on the podcast, but I have often talked about my dislike of actual arcade machines because they are, as we all know, just money gobbling bullshit machines, putting time on everything and not really giving you much back for what you pay for it, in my opinion. But
that's how you really feel.
Yeah. But sometimes you just gotta jump over your shadow and give a thing a try to see if anything changed or whatever, and not just be stuck in your own nihilistic opinion. And so I wanted to give an arcade another shot. I went to this place. Honestly, the only one, like Googling around online what arcades are in my area, and most of them have shit machines that I don't even want to try, like throwing a basketball into a hoop or some shit, or just big screen mobile games like Crossy Roads and stuff. I don't need to go to an actual place and throw coins into a slot to play that stuff. I wanted to find some actual, I guess maybe classic, proper branded brand name games. And I did find an arcade that has Daytona Championship USA. I think racing games are probably actually the most enticing thing for me at an arcade. And so that was like the first thing that I jumped on there. And I spent like half of my credits that I got for the day, which didn't result in much. Daytona Championship USA. I think I don't have to like introduce it. I think Roy has talked about Daytona in previous episodes. It's a classic arcade racing series where you do exactly what you expect you to do. And I spent 15 whole ass real bucks of money for like 20 minutes of playtime because I guess I sucked so hard. The machine had like two different modes. One like, I don't know, easy difficulty, free race mode where you could choose whatever track you want to drive and just go. I had the great decision to do the other mode, which seemed more like a campaign, where you have like a whole championship of all 3 racetracks in a row. But it also said in parentheses, expert mode. So I guess the difficulty was especially high on that. But a campaign seemed more interesting to me, like something to actually beat. And I couldn't even get past the first race. The Daytona, not structure, the Daytona concept is that you start in the race as the last place and have to, in a certain amount of laps, get a way to get from last to first place. That's how you do. You have to, get through the whole crowd in that time. And I think my best round was like out of 20 cars, I believe, I got like 5th. And I couldn't get any better than that. So I spent my entire time on this first racetrack until I decided I spent enough money and I left. I don't know. I feel like because I do like the force feedback of the steering wheel and whatever, that's like cool shit. But I feel like at this point I should just like spend money on a real device for at home and just play my PC games with that. It just doesn't seem viable to play these arcade games at all. And that's like the realization I make every single time I go to one of these places.
Sorry. I was gonna say I definitely like messing around some with like arcade games and stuff, but I definitely think it's hard to master them if you're not dedicated to going to an arcade over and over for sure. Where instead you could just buy one at your thing, at your house. I don't know why I said it like that.
No, I think you're right, yeah.
It might be worth, if you're curious about this, trying like Daytona USA or Sega Rally Championship or something for those older systems. If you're like, oh, I wish I had a bit more of like played in the home experience.
Yeah, I think the same day I set up, when my new PC finally arrived, one of the first things I did was get a ROM of Daytona USA on the Sega Saturn, which seems legitimately a home port of this arcade machine from what I can tell. So I'm just gonna play
it. It is a home port of the first Daytona USA. I believe Daytona USA Championship is like a sequel, but should basically be the same thing.
Yeah, something like that. So I will be playing Daytona properly at some point.
Daytona.
Okay. After that, roaming around the arcade, I didn't find any other like video game that I wanted to try. I ended up just playing pinball tables, like actual real pinball tables, where I spent my remaining 15 bucks and I got a full hour of entertainment there for the same price. So pinball tables keep winning. I'm mentioning this also now, even though those are not video games, because the main pinball table I played there physically, real life, was a Ghostbusters table, and that Ghostbusters table is gonna come up again later. So
ominous.
Remember that. Yeah. Other games that I've played and retired, keeping with my milled sport game bullshit, I noticed that there was on Steam a recently released indie game called Mills of Morris, which seemed to, try to use the Mills board game rules to do a sort of puzzle game thing with like a proper campaign and story. You're like a little dude running around the world solving like Mills based problems and whatnot, and progress through whatever mystical story there is. I do believe the Mills rules in how you move the pieces on that board game with the goal of connecting them 3 in a row, that whole deal, that simple concept makes for a good idea, a good basis for puzzle games in general. So this was not, like they said, promise. And I didn't mind the puzzles and how they added other elements to it to freshen it up and make it a bit more complex. But I also, like, it's not a very polished game, and you do move across an overworld and then dive into the actual puzzle levels. But you can get like, you can lock yourself up, like soft lock yourself in the overworld by moving pieces that you would need for progress in the wrong spot and never getting them out again. And the only way to fix that is like a total reset of the overworld, where you then have to move from the beginning spot all the way through the world again to get where you are. And I did that like once or whatever, but twice I was kind of like, sorry, I do not have the time or whatever, the patience to do this again and again, just because the game is not, the most polished. Kind of a bummer, because I would have really liked to finish this, but this was clearly not like, I don't know, tested much. Good idea, but the execution was rough, unfortunately.
This sounds like a repeat of the Fox game.
Yeah, but less excruciating. Also much cheaper. So not too much lost there. And another thing that I guess I technically retired. I had a brief one evening of nostalgia, where I reinstalled Counter-Strike 1.6, like the kinda OG version of Counter-Strike, at least the one that I was introduced with as a kid. And I specifically booted this up only to look at random, strange maps, because Counter-Strike is, of course, a very popular, classic, team-based first-person shooter that still lives today as Counter-Strike 2, I think it is called, actually, which is a stupid title, even though there were multiple iterations between, but whatever. Counter-Strike 1.6 was one of those early PC games where modding was, of course, very prominent, and a big thing was people making maps, different worlds to play in. And I, even as a child, my biggest enjoyment of playing Counter-Strike 1.6 wasn't actually trying to win these death matches or whatever, like shooting the other people. I spent many and many of nights just like going around the internet and trying to find the weirdest, wackiest maps that people created and just exploring them. And out of nostalgia, that's exactly what I did that one night. And I found some of like super surreal, artsy-fartsy maps that I remembered from my childhood. Shout out to map creator CC Nipper. That person was awesome, and I hope they are still around in game development today, because they were an awesome like level designer. Just wild, wacky ideas. Love it. That's really all I did. I did that for like 2 hours or whatever, and then I was done and uninstalled the game again. I didn't even play a proper round, so I don't know what to call it. That's my experience of Counter-Strike. And honestly, that's all I retired or paused, I think. But at my workplace in the office, I realized that somebody put an arcade machine in an unused break room that I barely go in. I think barely anybody goes in. It's one of those arcade machines for hobbyists where you put your own stuff on. And I had like a little look-see through the menus and what they got. Like, it's like an emulator-based machine using a Raspberry Pi on whatever, one of those thrown together things. And they have a bunch of weird, like, just bootleg games, and a bunch of things that whoever put this together and put that there seemed to have sourced from like itch.io, just some random indie games or whatever. In like the 10 minutes or whatever that I had on that day, I did boot up this racing game they had on there called Varooom 3D, which is,
Varooom.
as I later at home confirmed, is a game that somebody made for an itch.io game jam and released on itch.io for free. Somehow it ended up on this machine that some other employee put there or something. I have no idea. But like the game itself is a top-down racing game, which seems fine. It's based on Game Boy Advance software, hardware, whatever. You can download this as a Game Boy Advance ROM, so that's the limitations that they are playing with. A simple top-down racer that seems completely fine. On this weird cobbled-together arcade machine at my work's break room, it was weird to play it with an actual like joystick, because obviously that's not what it was made for. And I also only spent like 5 minutes or whatever, so I can't really judge this for anything. But that is, a video game I experienced briefly. So that's
Well, if it's
that.
at your work, you'll have your chance to do it again, I suppose. But I gotta say, Matt,
could.
the way you found the arcade machine sounds like the start of some creepypasta or some like
Yeah.
horror game.
But then it should be like in my uncle's dank basement or whatever, like not in my office's break room. That doesn't seem very spooky.
It's very
Because it's like
definitely
completely
like
unused. No one saw it.
yeah. It's definitely like I definitely see it like some horror movie trailer where like it's
Right.
like nighttime and it just like lights up on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
I finally found Polybius.
And the trailer shows the boss like, get rid of it. I don't want a game in here. And they get rid of it, and then the next day it's back.
Next day there's 2.
It's basically Pony Island the movie.
Oh my god. If they had Pony Island on that machine, I would be all there. Would be there all day. I wouldn't even do any work. They also have a Doom port on that arcade machine. I could not imagine playing that with a joystick and 3 arcade buttons. I don't know if I'm ever going to be brave enough to try that during my lunch break, but we'll see. Yeah, let's move on to what we're actually playing right now. What are the games that actually matter? Surely we will have a Wardle update from Roy.
You will indeed. I have indeed continued my Wordle streak despite a few iffy ones. My streak is at 777. 7's my favorite number, so.
Oh,
nice.
wow.
And I got it in 3 today while the podcast was on.
I wouldn't expect any less.
I've been playing Tabletop Simulator, but obviously that's a bit of a weird video game to talk about because the video game is simulating a tabletop game, you know?
Yeah.
But I've been playing Heroescape custom cards and figures. That's like this big whole community because a friend of mine who's in said community was like, hey, you want to join the game and see if you enjoy it and stuff? And I played it with him, and it's quite fun. And as you may have guessed from me talking about other stuff, I like custom card creation and custom moveset creation stuff. So I've been actually doing quite a lot of that the past 2 weeks or so. Very fun. Do recommend it. Tabletop Simulator is a bit of a stinky program, but it works.
Yeah, that's perfectly put.
Yeah, I think everybody I've met, that's what they kind of feel. Despite playing Tabletop Simulator for 25 hours, I'm not sure how much I have to say in a video game sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I played Vampire Survivors while I had Game Pass. This isn't plain, but I wasn't sure if it should be plain or beat, because technically I beat multiple stages and stuff. I was originally going to mark it as beat once I basically beat all the normal stages, because that felt like beating the game. Technically, I don't have access to this right now, so you could also argue it should be paused, because I don't have Game Pass. But literally 3 or 4 days after my Game Pass expired, one of my friends who has Game Pass popped up, and they're like, I've already got my 3 months maxed out. Here's a free code for a month of Game Pass. So technically, I could just reactivate it at some point in the next month. I suppose one thing I suppose I should say, like, Vampire Survivors seems solid. I see why it kind of got like a bunch of clones created of it. I do think Hollow Cure is just the better game in this genre from what I played, but Vampire Survivors, it's like a fun way to kind of spend some time, think about some strategy, but not like have to pay too much attention. This is like a great podcast game kind of thing, or like someone releases a new YouTube video. You kind of just want to chill and listen to that. You want something to do. Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Really quick, just talking about Game Pass, because I feel like I kind of started this little Game Pass journey like 3 months ago or so, and now it's kind of not come to an end, but like the little block of time that I was originally doing and stuff is done. I'd say like Game Pass is good, but I don't know if I'd really recommend it at the same time to an extent, I suppose. Like, first off, just because I'm somebody who likes purchasing my games and having them in a general sense. But
Does
also,
anybody though? Like, do we have any games that we purchase? I don't know.
I mean, I'd say I've purchased physical games, so.
Right. Okay. Well, even that.
And what else? I would say that still, realistically, you basically own a digital game for the most part. And if you buy off GOG, you have like the files and stuff. So you can like
True.
it is DRM free. So
True.
But I'd say the biggest thing about Game Pass to me is I think it does depend on what kind of gamer you are / games you're looking at. Because when you play a longer game, sure, you might complete in that month and get a deal then, but you also might not, and you're probably not going to complete a lot of games. So because of that, the value maybe isn't that high, I feel, compared to, I think that more if you're like playing a lot of modest or smaller games, and you game very frequently, that then it'll be a better deal for you. But I do feel like the deal is maybe not as good as it seems on the surface, basically, because you're probably not gonna play as many games as you think, is how I'd put it.
Sure.
I feel like the Game Pass is only really good if you're like a streamer or like a content creator that needs access to like more games. And also, yeah, like if you're going to play like a lot of smaller games, that's usually what I use it for. Like if there's a game on there that I know I want to play, but I'm going to spend my time with it, I'm not going to play it on Game Pass. I'm going to buy that my own self and just pay whatever for that game. So that way I'm not wasting my Game Pass subscription on like longer games, because then you end up playing like one game for like 3 months, which will be more expensive playing that one game versus you just buying it. So yeah, I usually used to just, when I had Game Pass, it was just like, give me all the games, like use how long to beat, and just figure out like which ones are going to be like less than 10 hours, just bang out a whole bunch of them in a day, and then be like, okay, that's the end of the month for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that train of thought. Funny enough, I also put together a list from how long to beat on my notepad of game times for kind of a similar reason. So, same brain. Yeah, I'd say very similar thoughts about Game Pass. The other thing I could see Game Pass for is like a hot new release comes out on it, and you know you're gonna beat it in a month, but it's cheaper, so you kind of get that to maybe play some extra games, stuff like that. That seems like the ideal usage of Game Pass to me.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I will say the biggest I did find the cloud streaming was pretty solid, although I would at times get kind of laggy with it. But I do think it is useful for people who don't have great computers as well, because I definitely couldn't have run like Expedition 33 or Persona 3 Reload on my computer, or if I could, it probably would have been quite laggy. So, like, there's a benefit there.
Oh, so you played that whole thing through the streaming thing, and that had no problems?
I think it did have a few problems, I would say, is how I'd put it. Like,
Interesting.
because like Expedition 33 is more like reaction and timing based in RPG,
Yeah.
how the dodging works. I feel like there are a few times I got hit because my input got in. So
Yeah, that's what I would be afraid of. Yeah.
yeah, I was worried about that too. But I think it mostly worked quite well. It was mostly very consistent. Just everyone,
Dope.
like every periodically I'd be like, oh, I hit that button, and just nothing happened. And sometimes I could tell it must have gotten in because I know from playing like the fight that I hit the button too early. Actually, I shouldn't have dodged the attack technically, but my character should have like done a movement, so I know that the input like got in.
Yeah, I never used that feature before with Game Pass. I'm gonna keep that in mind since it sounds like it's not as bad as I thought, though.
Yeah, I would
That's
say
cool to hear.
the biggest time it got bad is if I tabbed out and started doing stuff because presumably that's like interfering with the bit rate or
Mm,
something like that. Like when I was playing Persona 3 and did that, I would need to bring the game back up and then kind of wait a moment for it to stop lagging basically, and then it would just go back to being fine. But
right,
like
yeah.
it would lag for a bit the moment I first brought it back up. I do have one last game I'm playing, which I'm probably gonna look at more because I mostly played this. So the Steam Summer Sale happened, and I have a
True.
friend who likes to play fighting games and likes to buy like $5 fighting games during Steam Summer Sale. And a lot of times he'll gift them to me, and we'll like just spend some time and we'll have some fun playing them with each other and see what happens. And Duelist of Eden is a very nice little indie game that is based on I believe it is a roguelike card battle network game, One Step from Eden. This game was really good. This game is like, I have not played much like it. I know the Battle Network games are very similar, but I haven't played them. And I don't think there's a lot of Battle Network kind of games. But this is like, it's like this really weird yet addicting mismatch of a fighting game, a card game, and like an active tile-based RPG. It's weird, but man, it was really fun and very unique. And I want to come. I'm like when my friend and I have some game nights, we're gonna get back to this at some point for sure because this was really fun. Like you and your opponent are on like a 3x3 grid, and you hit like Q W E R to play a card drawn from your deck, or use like one of your rare like few abilities that's just inherent to the character kind of thing. Which is why you would choose one character over the other. When you play the card, it doesn't attack in real time on the grid, and you can move and all that while it's happening. So you have to keep moving around, and all the attacks like target parts of the grid. So like there's a very tactical element to it. And since it's like a deck, you're gonna have to use all your cards. You can't just spam the same attack and shuffle afterwards. And then like the stats and stuff a little bit, so it's an RPG. This game's just really good though. And they have like a lot of alternate colors and alternate outfits with just in-game currency. It's free, there's no DLC or anything. And a lot of them are really nice looking and well done. And like, since you get points for playing, that kind of immediately made me want to play more, because there's some that are just really well done references. There's a lot that are just, in general, very pretty. Like, this game ruled, and I've got to play it more to give like a truly accurate assessment. But like, and some of the cards and stuff are unique. You can place down objects, you can place down terrain, you can break parts of the grid. This is just really good. I'm definitely going to come back to this at some point, even if I don't know when. Highly recommend it, honestly.
It does sound absolutely like the kind of game that you could really like dive into strategically and lose yourself in all the
Oh,
opportunities.
definitely. If there's tournaments of this, I should look that up sometime because I'm curious what the hell it is. Because it's like really fast paced for how much is happening.
Yeah, my old brain could not wrap itself around this. I'm looking at videos. It's wild.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. That is what I've been playing, and yeah, that's everything. So it's up to you guys now.
My first is Cook for Love, which is another one that I downloaded on the Switch for a discounted price, hoping that this is better than Pizza Maker, and it is. There are certain things that are confusing in the way. I mean, not that the bar was very high, but hey.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The thing with this one is the mechanics are a little strange for a game. Like, one of the first things you have to do is make a smoothie. And it's like, okay, put the strawberries, which are already sliced, in the bowl, and like the foreground is like a bowl for you to like put all the ingredients in, and you're supposed to like switch through the different scenes for like the different tools and machinery that you're going to use. But the strawberries are already sliced. But then you take 2 bananas for the strawberry banana smoothie, and then you have to take the banana to the cutting board to cut the peel off, and then put the banana
What?
back on the cutting board to then cut it into slices to put it in the bowl. And I was like, okay, I didn't realize we were getting that realistic with cutting our slices and stuff, or whatever. But then, the bowl, there's like a bowl and like 2 doilies on the side, which I assume is going to be like, eventually you're going to put cups there. We're making a smoothie. I'm assuming that we are going to have a cup for this smoothie. You take all the ingredients to the blender, you put stuff in the blender, blend the stuff, and then you take the ball of smoothie out and put it in the bowl to go to the next screen, to then put it in a pitcher to pour it into the glass.
Oh yeah. Don't we all do that? We love dirty dishes
I
around
did
here.
two smoothies like that, and I was like, why? Just give me the glass. I'll just pour it from the blender into the glass. Like, why did I have 2 extra steps?
That is weird, yeah.
Who pours a smoothie like this?
Yeah, the thing also, like, the animation of you taking it out of the blender is like this ball of smoothie, and I'm like, am I Jean Grey? What's going on? Like, why is it coming out of the blender like this into the bowl? But I was like, I switched through the scenes too, because I was like, maybe there's a glass I'm supposed to get to put on the doily that's on the side of my like little tray here, and wouldn't let me take it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go back to the blender, and I like tapped on the blender, and it was like, here's this ball of smoothie, and I was like, that's not what I was expecting in this game.
First egg on pizza, now smooths in a bowl. Not a
Yeah.
good culinary time recently.
However, this does seem to have like some sort of story to it. Like, I guess it kind of wants to be like Stardew in a way, because it starts off when it's like this letter to this person who left you their restaurant, and they decided to take all of their equipment with them. So like, you just have the bare ass restaurant. So like, these 2 people, the first 2 customers are like, oh, we'll lend you our stuff. So I guess like it's going to be like the potluck of restaurants, where everybody just brings you the like machinery for you to then make stuff with or whatever. But I'm curious to see where the story goes, so we'll see, and what other wild ways of preparing food there is. Like, at least I can give it the creativity check mark, where it's like, sure, I've never done things this way, but I guess we're gonna find new ways to cook. So,
Oh boy.
and the other one that I'm still playing, for 2 weeks I went to go visit my parents, so I had no access to any of my consoles for that time. So when I came back, I immediately had to remind myself where I was in Plague Tale Requiem, which I'm still getting through. But now that I know that the next game doesn't follow these people, I care less. So, like, I'm interested to see what the next game is going to be. But like, now I'm like, clearly something is going on with these characters for them not to be in the next game. So like, I don't know if there's going to be a bad ending for them, or if like there's going to be like a time shift or something. My emotional attachments to these characters are less than they were even in the first game. I wasn't even that attached to begin with, but I was like, I guess we're all here, we're playing this game, we're going to finish this game for your story or whatever. And by then I already had bought this one on discount, so I was like, at least I have at least these 2 games I'm going to get through. So I was like, we're just going to play them for the story and see how the story goes. So I'm I'm continuing on that one. Again, the mechanics in this one are a lot more fun to play than the first one. The way that they've changed up the combat a little bit. The story is not interesting in the way that, again, like I don't really care about the characters, and like the story is just happening. So like I'm gonna play it to finish the game and say that I've sucked one off of my backlog, but other than that, I don't know if there's a point in this game that will make me care about their situation enough for me to be like, I want to play this game again, or I'm so excited to learn more about them outside of this game or in the next game, like to learn more about their world in the next game if it's not with these characters. So that's where we are with that one.
I mean, isn't the new game a prequel, basically? I thought that was why the characters weren't reappearing.
That's what I thought too, but I was reading up on it, and it doesn't seem like it's about the character I thought it was. So we haven't met that character in this game yet, so I don't know, or if we are going to meet that character in this game. So now I'm very confused over what's going on.
Yeah, maybe I'm just uninformed for sure, if that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything about this. I just hope the rats are okay in this Plague Tale. That's who I'm rooting for.
The rats are clearly part of like the bigger part of the game, but like it's comical to the extent that they're used in the game with like the hurricanes and just like waterfalls of rats, and I was like, there's no way it was this bad in this point of history. Like,
I wish.
We all wish we had the hurricane of rats.
Yeah, like, so just completely comical. Like, I understand you're doing it for the gameplay mechanics and whatever, but I was like, this is just comical, where it's like, I'm not even scared, I'm just cracking up laughing and being like, why would it be this? Like,
that's awesome.
It's amazing. But again, respect for the creativity of placing a game in that location in time. Like, sure, it's gonna be tons of rats. Although that was my favorite thing about when I first started the game. Like, I just heard that it was Plague Tale, and for some reason I did not make the connection to that point in time until I played the demo, and like I turned it on and it was just like rats, and I was like, oh, plague. It's happening during the plague. Got it. Like,
no shit.
Like, I don't know why. I just didn't believe that was going to be the thing. And I was like, oh, they mean like actually plague. Okay, got it.
I love that.
That is very funny.
Yeah. But then also other people were like watching me play it, and they were like, why are there so many rats? And I was like, well, it's the plagues.
Yeah.
It really do be the plague.
The big OG.
Yeah. they go hard for the rats.
The OG plague, baby.
Yeah, brother. I stand rats. There's a rat I love very much in my games as well. Continuing with my 3DS games, I've started playing Pokémon Ultra Moon. Coincidentally just happened to be on my hacked 3DS. I must have put that there years ago. And so I figured, okay, well, I'm bound to not use my PC. I might as well use this Nintendo brick to give modern Pokemon another shot. I'm one of those people that grew up with the classic games, still love those, but nowadays if I have a knack for Pokemon, I either play one of those old games or the plenty of quality ROM hacks that the fans are making. There's so much cool stuff there. Yeah. But the modern Pokemon I don't play. Of course, I also don't have the platforms usually, but I do have this 3DS. Let's throw this Ultra Moon thing in there. I had no context of what this was. Apparently, this is the one that's based on the tropical islands or whatever. I don't even know. I think it's like
Hawaii.
Yeah. So we got a lot of water. So IGN wouldn't like it.
IGN is just in shambles.
Yeah. But I guess with how much flack the modern Pokemon games are getting, my expectations were really low, I guess. But honestly, so far, I have a really good time with this one. Though I have also heard now from other people that Ultra Moon was actually one of the better received games, from what I can gather.
People
And
like the generation in general. I think most people do prefer Sun and Moon, but there are people who prefer Ultra.
yeah, honestly, like I don't even know really what the difference is between the Ultra versions and the regular versions.
The story goes in a pretty different direction. Is probably the biggest change, I would say.
Okay. Well, the story in Pokemon games I don't pay attention to anyway.
That's well, that one. This game, at least, people like the story. You
Okay.
know, obviously it's still Pokemon, but I won't get into it too much. But I'd say that's like the biggest thing. And like they swap around some of the Pokemon you can catch, new
Yeah.
legendary, standard stuff there.
What I also love about, I don't know if this is in the regular versions as well, but in Ultra Moon, Pokemon games almost always have a day and night cycle, and for Ultra Moon, they decided to reverse it. So if you're playing in real life daytime, you have night in the day. If you're playing in real life nighttime, you have day in the game. And I actually really like that. It's so stupid, but kind of fun.
I believe that's only if you have Moon, and then Sun is normal.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Yeah, that's what I gathered. And there is, with that, also a whole emphasis on the dark type Pokemon, which I don't necessarily care much about, but that came with, speaking of rats, with the Rattata. For those who don't know, is a Generation 1 Pokemon. It's a very early, stinky ass, normal type rat Pokemon that does not have any special qualities to it whatsoever, and doesn't, I don't think in competitive play or whatever, it has any fucking value at all. It's a normal type.
Not nowadays, for sure.
It's weak against pretty much anything originally because it was a normal type, and wasn't effective strong against any other type. Now, the Alolan Rattata is a dark type, and it actually has abilities and value and is like viable in fights to a certain degree. And I always loved the Rattata design. And I've always been thinking about playing one Pokemon game with Rattata in my main team. And this one just screamed for it. So I threw out my starter Pokemon because I do not. Who gives a shit about those starter Pokemon? And Rattata is my main man now. Rattata's my homie. I love that rat so much. Such a dope ass creature.
Friendship ended with starter. Rattata is my new best friend.
Yeah, for real. And like that alone was like a huge thing of this Pokemon game might actually rule. Additionally, I think this game actually looks really pretty, which surprised me because most Pokemon games nowadays are very much criticized for looking barren and ugly. But this one, like, really nice environments and like glamour shots as you get into new places and whatever. It's like really cool.
I'd say real quick, if I may.
Yeah,
I'd say a big reason for that is that the games that kind of look a bit ugly are the Switch ones, because you can just tell Game Freak wasn't doing the best translating kind of the stuff they had to the more powerful hardware. Because while the Switch isn't powerful in the sense of being like an Xbox or whatever, it's obviously a lot stronger than like the 3DS.
Yeah.
And they just didn't kind of amp it up in that way. But like the 3DS games, like Sun and Moon and stuff like that, and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, I'd say they look pretty good too. I'd agree.
Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Though if we are comparing Switch games, the Switch Pokemon games are being criticized for like heavy frame loss and whatever. But like the 3DS game here as well. I mean, first of all, it was very much a disappointment that it's not actually using the 3D effect, except for like one or two specific features of the game. The regular game is not 3D, bummer. And even in the non 3D using version, you can see that the game is struggling sometimes. When there's more than two Pokemon on screen, it is losing frames incredibly quickly. And I'm not like a frame freak. I'm not like hunting for these. I played like shoddy ass PC games. That's not one of my priorities. But it just is strange to see a game specifically dedicated to this platform. It's made for this platform, and yet it cannot handle a basic situation. It's just strange.
And on top of that, it's not even their first game on the platform because X and Y was on it.
Right. And I don't actually remember X and Y having these problems, but it's been a long time.
And technically, like, since Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon are sequels to Sun and Moon, it's technically their third go on the system. So you'd think their hope would be ironed out.
Very, very odd. But I don't want to delve on the negatives. I actually really like the gen in terms of the new Pokemons.
Yeah,
As an old man, I'm not like up to date with all the billions of Pokemon at each generation, but this one had a bunch of designs I actually genuinely liked. And I'm having a decent time just going through the campaign and whatever. I got a team of Pokemon I like. There's enough Pokemon that I find interesting that it's already, a struggle to keep the team at a consistent 6 Pokemon, and that is a good thing. So, this Pokemon game is actually going to be one that I'm going to be finishing. The last one I tried was on the Switch, I think Sword and Shield. I never finished that, and I don't intend to go back to that.
I would say if you're going to do one on Switch, I would say Scarlet and Violet is better, personally.
Isn't Arceus also on Switch? I think that would be the one I would try.
It is, but I definitely preferred Scarlet and Violet myself. I think Arceus a lot of people like because it changed up the formula.
Yeah.
But I feel like the formula change kind of was in some way a bit more basic, personally. And I feel like the best way I'd put Scarlet and Violet is the Pokemon game everyone was asking for, like, during the, Ruby Sapphire to Black and White era.
Interesting.
It's,
How?
So everybody, I was really big into Pokemon. Everyone was like, we want an open world Pokemon game, but not like true open world, but you can challenge the gyms in any order. We want a bit more story. Well, the game definitely has more story, and honestly, it's good story. It's actually pretty good.
Okay.
I like Arvin a lot. We want Pokemon kind of in the overworld, stuff like that. It feels like it kind of was. I know that's not major, but that is what people asked for at the time.
A lot of things people really want from Pokemon is not something I want or care for. It's really funny to me.
I would to an extent agree, but I will say this: I actually thought Scarlet and Violet was really good, except for the performance. It's unfortunate. Of
course.
It's kind of the thing that annoys me about it is that I actually think Scarlet and Violet, speaking strictly in terms of gameplay, story, all that stuff, is one of the best mainline Pokemon games. It just looks pretty shitty for the system, and it doesn't run good. It's
awesome.
like it might have been my favorite Pokemon game if it wasn't also bad. Is how I put it.
Jesus Christ. What a sound. Awesome.
But if you like the gameplay and stuff, or if you like they release a new F-Zero and they get a Switch 2, the performance is fine on Switch 2.
Right. Yeah. I'm not gonna get there.
F-Zero,
I'm not gonna get that. Nah, I think I know.
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo is not selling. It's not making the moves for me to want to be in business with them past the Switch.
Yeah, I feel like that. I felt like that for years.
For me, it's kind of been the opposite. I'm really excited if I ever get it. But I'm also joking because, who expected Kirby Air Ride back? That game's about as old as F-Zero. You'd never know.
True. That is cool. Yeah, it doesn't make up for all the bullshit. But yeah. Anyway, Pokemon Ultra Moon seems good. My team, for the one person that cares right now, is Redditor, Vullaby, Inkay, Cutiefly, Mudbray, and Morlul. More news on this next time.
Actually, that was a fun team. I like the squid.
Dude, the squid! The squid, you have to use the squid because who knows how long its evolution is even gonna... it is one of the freaky Pokemon where the evolution is irregular. You have to use the gyro controls on your platform, move it around at a certain levels, and then it evolves. It's fucking awesome. It's so stupid. I can't wait for this.
It's such unique nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to put it on my
Turn your game
team.
system upside down, evolve your Pokemon.
Yeah. Also, Cutifly is the best Pokemon design in multiple generations, and I will die on this hill. It is amazing.
I really like Cutifly, so
Let's go.
It's just a really good representation of like the real life inspiration as well.
Just a little freakazoid with wings. A little guy.
Little Freakazoid.
Okay, that's enough Pokemon.
Anyway.
Yeah. I've also been playing, as always, Backgammon plus Checkers plus Mills, that PC release to beat my friend in Mills. Now with newfangled strategies that I've learned from the mobile thing against the AI. And as is tradition, because this is my co-op friends like nightly tradition on weekends. You play this one round of Mills or whatever in that other thing. And then we move on to Murky Divers, which, as a recap again, co-op, spooky, funny game where you explore underwater locations to gather valuable items and try not to get killed by monsters before the time runs out. I actually have something to talk about this one this time because they had a major update, and I think I have found the first application of modern AI in the video game that I actually liked. And that kind of, both me and my co-op friend are kind of, as a lot of people are wary of the AI oversaturation these days in all sorts of fields. So we are both surprised when they actually added something in this update that we kind of appreciated. Before the update, there was an enemy type, a creature that roamed some of these locations that carried your own player model or your friend's player model and tried to catch you because you thought that's your friend, but in reality, it's a monster that's trying to suck the air out of your lungs. In this update, they now talk, and they don't just talk, they when they first came up and started speaking, my friend was like, yo, that doppelganger sounded like you. What the fuck is up with that? And I was like, that has to be coincidence. There's nothing about that. You're just...
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. There cannot be anything about that. That's true. But, and they were, of course, talking in English. We are Germans. We speak German to each other with the in-game chat that is very much vital to this game. In-game voice chat. And we knew if there's like an NPC that's speaking English, of course, that's not our friend. But at some point, those doppelgangers started talking German. And we were kind of curious about that. And they did start to sound more like us, actually. And yeah, looking at the actual update notes and the Steam store, which now, of course, has to have an AI banner thing notice, they are using AI to analyze the gamers' voices and copying them for these doppelganger creatures, and that is actually awesome. If you can still hear that these are generated voices, they don't sound perfectly natural, but in the heat of the moment of a dark underwater cave with other shit roaming around, you can get confused by that, and that just is enough for this to be really, really interesting. We are both kind of amazed by that. That is a really fun way to use an AI. But yeah, that is Murky Divers. It is.
They have an update like that in Lethal Company, but I've never played Lethal Company enough to know. One, everybody I would play with would be in English anyway. But yeah. My idea of that update was that they were just taking clips of you speaking, which is probably also just another privacy violation in general.
Yeah.
That's creepy to begin with.
True.
But I didn't realize that they might just be generating using the Gen AI.
Yeah,
That's so wild. Okay.
it is wild. And it is a very good thing that has to be by law, you know.
Yeah.
You have to know about this before you purchase the game.
That's
Thank
wild.
fuck. Otherwise, this would have been much more problematic. But this way,
Yeah.
as it is transparent, I'm kind of okay with it. It's a cool use of it. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it seems interesting at least, you know. And
Yeah.
you at least, and you do have to consent. If I agree. If it
Yeah.
was like they just started doing it, that'd be creepy and weird.
Mm-hmm. Very true. But that's Murky Divers. We're still playing that very frequently. It's a great game. It's just our co-op game for now. Probably gonna be the co-op game for us until Grounded 2 is out of early access or something. What else am I playing? I started looking into. I've been meaning for a while to play more VR games again, and recently I've I watched a streamer play Rock Band with the drum set, and I was kind of jealous. I kind of like that. But like buying that drum set bullshit and the hardware is fucking unreasonably expensive. So so I thought like I have a VR system, and that's if you can do Beat Saber on that, you can probably do like a Rock Band style drum set on that as well. Surely there are games for that, and it is definitely a subgenre that has multiple titles out there. It turns out I have a drumming VR game already on my backlog that I purchased at some point. I don't know why or where, which is called Ragnaröck. And although this didn't look like what I actually wanted to get into, I figured since I already own this, I might as well give this a shot. Ragnaröck is a drumming VR rhythm game. Though you are not like a rock star sitting at a drum set, you are a Nordic Viking or whatever, drumming the big drums as your brethren row the boat. That is the whole thing. And the whole soundtrack is made up of Viking metal and this sort of stuff. I do love metal, but I've never been into the whole Viking aesthetic. So that seems very corny to me. I'm not like huge into the actual soundtrack of this game. But like, you know, it's a fine VR rhythm game so far. Though again, this is not the drumming game that I was looking for. So I don't know honestly if I'm gonna spend too much time in this game, if I'm actually gonna play through what you could call the campaign or whatever. Seems decent, but whatever. I'm gonna look for other drumming games. Another game that I've been playing, and now we're getting back to that Ghostbusters pinball game I've played in real life. Because there's a huge, huge market of digital pinball games on Steam alone, filled with hundreds of DLC packages of digital recreations, officially branded real life pinball tables. You can probably play any real pinball table somewhere in a digital form. And when I played at Ghostbusters pinball table at the actual arcade, I was kind of thinking, hey, let's see if that one exists on Steam in some sort of way as well. And yup, I was right. There's this release called Stern Pinball Arcade that collects a bunch of Stern pinballs in this digital form, and one of those is the Ghostbusters table. The actual release is free to play and comes with 2 free pinball tables, which are based on movies. The Arnold Schwarzenegger film Last Action Hero and the Robert De Niro film Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is a wild choice for a pinball table to me. But I played a bunch of rounds of those. It seemed like the menus in this game are absolute ass, and I get why there's a lot of negative reviews about this on Steam, because the menu handling is like complete nonsense, and also the way they are selling the DLC tables and whatever is not. A lot of people don't like that. But once you get past the menus and actually find your way to the actual pinball table, those are really well-made, faithful recreations, it seems, and they play really well. And you have individual goals for each table that you can try to achieve. You have lengthy, thorough explanations for all the different elements of a pinball table, which is always like worth gold in these pinball games. And I had a pretty good time with the Last Action Hero and especially the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein table. But then, of course, why I was really here, I bought the DLC for that Ghostbusters table, which also was a 1-to-1 official recreation of what I played in real life. And that is awesome because now I can like really grind out this table and get good at it without paying $15 an hour or whatever. And I've started doing the goals that are on this table. I think I did all the regular difficulty goals already, but once you do that, you get like a harder set of goals, and those seem kind of fucked, and I don't know if I want to do that. I'm probably just gonna do some more high score hunting on these, see how far I can get on the leaderboard. Not shooting for number 1 though. I think the numbers on there scare me. But generally, like, I don't know, it does what I want. It's a good pinball release if you get past the wonky menus. I also, before I get to the biggest title in my list, I also played Wardle while Roy was doing his bit.
Hell
And
yeah.
I did it in 2. So that was
your
pretty good.
monthly game of Wordle.
Monthly game of Wordle. I got all the letters in step 1 and just had to rearrange them in step 2. Was fantastic.
Oh, damn, nice.
Love that.
What was the?
Yeah.
I guess I should.
I put in words. The word words.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
I
started with naive, so I started with no green, no yellow.
Oh yeah, that sucks. Because the real word today is sword.
Last month's Wordle for him.
Now, my last game that I'm playing right now, that's the biggest, that is consuming the most time of my play time recently. Early in July, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 finally released. I bought this on day 1, and I'm very happy with it. It is exactly the type of quality they expected from this based on the previous Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 that I played years ago. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is definitely a franchise that I've grown up with, especially 2 being my first exposure to this that I have the most nostalgia for. So that it was really cool revisiting that in the previous remake release. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is something I've played later as a teenager and is probably the one that I would call the best Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, to me at least. So seeing that one get this treatment was like even bigger. Honestly, as the news came out over the couple of since the beginning of the year, I believe, I honestly didn't expect them to do this sort of treatment for 3 and 4 until like the very last second when it was actually announced. It just seems like a very different beast than doing 1 and 2. 3 seems like a more expensive game. And 4 is such a mysterious, weird middle child between Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and the much beloved Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Underground. While Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, just like its predecessors, was a skating game where you had 2 minutes of time to roam around an environment and do a bunch of goals. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Underground later on did the whole semi-open world thing where you can get off the board, believe it or not, and talk to people and get like missions that way. There was the huge innovation at the time. In the middle of those two, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was the attempt at getting to that open world-ish thing with no timer and whatnot, but they didn't yet know how to do that. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 seems to me like the forgotten middle child that nobody cares about, and I honestly have never known about this title until I had the internet and whatnot. So I've always been fascinated with that one and wanted to play it myself someday, probably like emulating it. Though I guess as they announced this remake, it turned out this was gonna be the way that I'm gonna experience that. Although to be fair, they have, while Tony Pro Skater 3 is pretty faithfully adapted Tony Pro Skater 4 for this remake, they have actually gotten rid of the open world-ish concept that made it so weird. And while having the same maps, put the classic 2-minute timer on it to like streamline, standardize this release. Which is
Which
weird.
seems a bit disappointing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I think, rightfully so, a controversy among the fans as well. People have been raving about this long before the release. But me personally, who always preferred the classic 2-minute timer games over the later open world-ish games, I'm personally really okay with that. So I guess I'm just lucky that way. But it is interesting to see these Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 levels for the first time this way. But I'm probably gonna have to go back to the original at some point to really see what the fuck was up with that one. So far I have beaten all the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 levels in this game and cleared them out good as well with the goals that are currently available. I think you unlock harder ones later. And I'm in the middle of going through the THPS 4 levels, the new ones that I don't know, which is a wild experience. But it is another release where they give you so many optional like goals to work towards, just so you have stuff to do. And the roster of skaters is also huge. I like when I replayed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 last year. I think I made jokes about the fact that there's literally only one female character in that entire game, Alyssa Steamer, the legend. Guess what? We now have more than one woman, if you believe it or not. And, which I had no idea about, we have Leo Baker, who is a non-binary trans person, which is fucking awesome.
That is awesome.
I fucking love this. The roster is dope as well. We also get a bunch of people that have performed at the recent Olympics, at the skateboard events at the Olympics, which are still very fresh, which is dope to see. I don't know, it's just a lot of cool people there. And Bam Margera was like a really, really last second edition, which was Bam Margera, very much famous for being the Viva la Bam jackass goofball that just does bullshit and then fell into a long stretch of years of drug and alcohol problems. And it's so nice to see him finally like cleaned up in the previous 2 or 3 years, something like that. Finally like getting to probably the healthiest point of his life ever, and also managing to repair his ties to the skateboarding community, to Tony Hawk, to get back into this game. He was a very iconic character in the old Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. So it's genuinely so fucking cool and like kind of heartwarming to see him back here as an old man, as a healthy, down to the ground, not drugged up dude, grandpa almost, like an old man. It's so fucking dope.
That is nice.
It is kind of, after so many dark years with this franchise and some of the people involved from back in the day, it's kind of feels to me like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is back at its peak, at a really, really bright spot. And it's so fucking fun to see all of that.
Maybe we'll get a new one at this point.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, we had these 2 remakes. I think if we're getting another one, it would be best if it was an original one at this point.
And it seems like it's making enough money to like actually make it happen too.
Yeah, I think so too. There could also, it's gonna be either Tony Hawk's Underground Tony Hawk's Underground remake, but I hope it's gonna be an original game. But who knows when that is gonna be? Yeah, that's what I'm playing. It's where most of my time goes right now. And now, after we've rambled on about all the epic games that we've been playing, we are going to do our little recap of the recent community event on the How Long to Beat forums, the so-called Itchmas in July, which is an offshoot of the major Itchmas happening in December every year. Members of the forum nominate 3 games available on itch.io made by indie devs. And then we vote on them. And the most voted 6 games usually get revealed day by day for us to play together and discuss. This month, due to ties, we have 10 whole games, and I guess we will be going through those and see who played them. Number 1 was a game called. Oh, we get more rats. I just realized it's a very rat-centered episode.
Rats. Rats were the rats.
Exactly. I'm tempted to just call this the fucking rat episode. First game. First game that was revealed is a game called Sewer Tales, developed by a person named M4thew Rebelot, nominated by yours truly, me, Matt.
I've got to say, Matt, it's so funny in the notes that says nominated by Cock.
Yeah, because that's my awful username on the forums. I regret it every day. It's short for cockroach for any parents listening. Sewer Tales is a sort of prototype game, a top-down, I guess you could loosely say RTS, where you are a rat king raising a group of different rats to fight against random creatures roaming around. Who here played this?
I did.
Me. Oh.
Yeah, we all played the rat game.
This is very much a tech demo game for sure. This game kind of just felt aimless, like there wasn't much of a point to it. Obviously there's no like objective. But even aside from that, like the level, I don't know if the level is generated or if it's just one level. I assume it's just one level, admittedly. But just the way it plays just kind of feels almost like a roguelike, but not with much going on. I think the biggest thing that kind of sucked the fun out for me is that it really didn't control well, honestly. Like, moving the main rat around was fine, but I feel like a lot of times I'd tell the rats to attack something, and most of the rats kind of would just like circle around it, but not really attack it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of awkward that the rats just didn't follow you naturally. You had to kind of press a button or walk a certain distance away. Feels like they should, like a Pikmin game, just follow you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was of the ones I played, I ended up playing 5 of the Itchmas games. I would say this was definitely my least favorite. It just wasn't that. It just wasn't that. The art is nice. I like the sound effects. The sound design's actually quite good. But that was really all I could say for it.
I love the art. I love the concept. Yeah, it is unfortunate that the controls are a bit fricked. And there's no actual goal to aim towards. But honestly, if this just had one big boss fight or whatever, I would honestly already be pretty satisfied. I would pay good money for like a proper game with a goal and a bit of like polished mechanics. I don't even need much more. I actually really enjoyed this.
I'd say if they fixed up the controls and added like an objective, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But like, when there's no objective, when you have to make your own fun, when it doesn't control well at the same time.
Yeah, fair. It was just made for like a game jam thing too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bar that you kind of have to go with itch games, where like it's not going to be fully fleshed out. got to take them for what they are. But
Yeah.
my issues were similar with this one. The only thing I would say is that, yeah, like I think somebody in the Discord just made up an arbitrary number of like getting 100 rats, and I was like, yeah, let's see how fast that'll take me, And then I did it, and then like it was sad because I was like, I got to this point, and I want like a reward for getting to like a certain level of rats. You can just murder any animal that you come across at that point. And so I was like, now what? Can't die unless I like let them, gang up on me. And I was like, I don't want to finish because like I like quit the game or anything because I'm not dead yet. Like you have to like just fail it yourself just to like be over with it. I was like, I'm winning right now. Why would I close the game? Yeah.
What?
That's how they get you.
One might say that you were trapped in a rat trap.
Oh no. That number of 100 rats wasn't like there's a counter in the corner actually, but it counts your rats and always says number out of 100. So I get where they came from. I think my number was 125, 124.
Yeah,
and that's where
like
I stopped.
I got to like 58.
So you didn't beat it, buddy.
I mean, there's no goal, so I can say I beat it, whatever. But
yeah, I just made it up as mine.
What happened with me is that I kind of wiped to just like a cat when I had around 58 and got like a bunch of them dead. I feel like if you have that happen, you're just stuck walking around and repeatedly getting to like 30 rats and running away from a cat. And I just didn't feel like trying to keep doing more.
Yeah.
Totally fair. Yeah, let's move on to the next one, which Leah, you already said it. The bar for itch games is quite low, and you cannot expect a necessarily finished game. So I was incredibly surprised by the next one, which is The Fall of Lazarus, which was, according to itch, developed by No Wand Studios, Nazor, and Johnny JPEG. Yeah. So a lot of people had technical difficulties with this. Were you two able to play this or even try it?
No.
I didn't try it.
Yeah.
I didn't try it, but it doesn't sound like it necessarily worked anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, the controls were working fine for me at first, and then like the moment I got through the first room, it started getting very sluggish and nothing else was responding, and then it would just crash. And then I would load it up again, and like as soon as I got to that first threshold of the door, it was just like I can't take anymore and just crash. So I think you may be the only one who was able to get through it.
Yeah, before I forget, this was nominated by Nelp, previous guest on the podcast. But yeah, it really seemed like I was the only one that was able to play this. I don't know if I've seen one other soul on the forums or Discord that actually didn't get a crash. I had no problems. I was able to play this just fine, and this fucking game turns out on my brand new PC. That was I genuinely would love to know what the fuck is making this break for others, but we will never know. The Fall of Lazarus.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Leah, what operating system do you have?
11.
Damn, Windows I would promote like maybe everyone is playing on 10, and for some reason it's not supported, and Matt's new computer has 11. But it seems not.
Dog, yeah, I should not keep 11 around for much longer. 10. Not keep 10 around for much longer. Just heads up, it's dying. Fall of Lazarus turns out to be a fully fledged 3 to 4 hour video game. Like a full story and campaign and voice acting and proper graphics. It was crazy to see this as a free itch game. It turns out, because I did some digging afterwards, this was a crowd-funded game that was also sold for proper money on Steam, etc. I'm assuming it was just eventually put on itch for free because I guess those technical difficulties are plaguing people. I genuinely believe that is the reason why. But if you get this to run, this is a genuinely full-fledged sci-fi sci-fi game where you play a soul survivor on a or not soul survivor, but the only conscious human being on the spaceship, talking to an annoying AI, trying to get shit to run properly and or escape this hellscape. So it is very much, the writing has some weight to lift to get you immersed in this existential dread and whatnot. You have a bunch of puzzles as you run around the different rooms and levels of the spaceship and learning your way around. It gave me a little bit like Alien Isolation vibes without the threat of an alien. And I wouldn't be surprised because this came out around the same time, I believe, originally, if that was a huge inspiration to that. Also, Dead Space seemed to be kind of mentioned, but never in the visual horror way, only in the space existentialism way, in the loneliness and the industrial visuals of the environment. Plus a bunch of surreal dreamscape sequences, which are mostly pretty decent. This generally, it's a bummer that it doesn't work for people because this genuinely seems, I want to say, like a good bang for your buck because it's free. Unfortunately, you have to be one of the chosen ones to be able to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is that.
Keep it in mind for when I buy my new PC.
Yeah, I genuinely wonder what the fuck that is. It cannot be too demanding or whatever. It must be some weird configuration or whatever in the software that's causing conflicts. I don't know. But yeah, I guess that's all that we can say about this one. So let's move on to a little game, a more typical game for these Itchmas events. Desierto by Josian, nominated by user no one on the forums. And this one is one of those less game, more interactive art, one of those poem games, very short, pixel art style. I enjoyed it though. Who of you have played this before I ramble on?
I have played this one. I played it right before the podcast, in fact, because I played one of these during the podcast, another before, because
Jesus Christ.
I meant to do them earlier, but life kind of got in the way a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Sorry, Leah, you had not played it?
Yeah, I played it.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was the one of the ones that I played like immediately after it was announced. At any time that they're like browser-based ones, I'm like, oh, cool, I can do that right now.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But this is one of those, more of the standard itch games that there are.
Yep.
But also, like Sewer Tales, kind of doesn't have. I mean, it has an ending, but it doesn't really let you know that it happened.
Yeah, on purpose,
there are no
though, I believe.
or anything.
Yeah.
So I stared at that game for like maybe 5 minutes, being like, "Am I moving? Do I do something? Do I wait for?"
But that is probably the appropriate recreation of being stumbling through the desert. So I kind of get it.
That's true.
Yeah, I kind of assumed it was going to happen, and then when it did happen, I was like, "Is this a fake out?"
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but it was a very nice, poetic game.
So yeah, like we said, this is like more of what you expect with these, and we've had plenty of interactive poem things in previous Itchmasses, all to more or less success. I actually believe this one I liked the most, or like is one of my more liked ones of these. The presentation was just more polished than I have seen in others, and that just helped to get it that tiny smidge more on top of my list or whatever. Yeah, it's not like a huge deal. It's a little poem, a visual poem, and that's it. So
I'll just real quickly because I did play it. I'm not gonna say much new, admittedly, but I'm just gonna say like it was okay.
Mhm.
I thought, like you said, presentation was solid, but like I did feel like the poem itself felt a bit aimless, basically at points. I will say compared to some of the other ones like that I've played, like the actual pros, but it was fine.
Yeah,
That's all.
it was fine indeed. Game number 4 connects to a game previously mentioned by Leah. Here we
Yeah.
have Divorce Chat Room by Myri, nominated by R2D2 1999. Yeah, Leah, you talked about we should talk
Yeah.
and alluded to the connection here, so why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. So this is one of those visual novel games that kind of flip the switch on visual novel games where they're usually talking about the start of a relationship or a crush or
Yeah.
whatever, and this one is the ending of this relationship. Um,
Hell yeah.
this one has 2 endings apparently, but again, like we should talk. You kind of have to find where you want them to go. Like, there's no real like clearly there somebody is going to get divorced, but how they get divorced is up to you. So you can have like very angry, messy divorce, or you could have sort of calm, conscious uncoupling, as they say, sort of thing. But it was okay, I guess. I appreciate the creativity and it being a game about the end of a relationship versus like the start. That's a little bit more my vibe with these things.
Same.
Again, it's also a shorter game. Um, but maybe it's like the UI could have used a little bit more of a thought, I would say. Like in order to advance, you have to click into the chat box, and that's also where the options for the dialogue pop up. And there was a few times where I was just trying to click through to get all the word. Like, I speed read a lot, so most of the time the fastest speed for visual novels is still too slow for me to read. So like I usually just click to get everything on the screen, read it, and then click to the next one. So a lot of times I'm doing that, trying to read, and I will accidentally click like the next dialogue option. And I would be like, I don't even know what I just clicked. And it's just like, oh, so you think that? And I was like, I didn't mean to. Like, I need a like undo button for visual novels a lot of the time. But like most of the time you can get around that because you can just click somewhere else, not near the options, and be able to get through the text. But this one, the only place you can click was like right in the text box. And I was like, I'm going to like make this the messiest divorce just by accidentally clicking. I did get I don't know what's considered the good ending. I got the very calm divorce.
I would assume that's the good ending.
I didn't think so anyway.
I guess it just depends on your how you feel about this. I forgot what his name was. This lactose intolerant man.
The soy boy.
Oh no, not the soy boy.
Oh my god.
With his that was honestly my favorite part, where it was just like, here's this picture with him just like holding an ice cream cone, very like suggestively in this park. But like,
my favorite part was when the lactose intolerant man was talking about the shit he took on a plane. I think diarrhea even because of lactose. That was an awesome story. Loved that. And that is what started the conflict, basically, where the protagonist said, okay, no more. That's fucking sad.
That's a real shitty thing to do.
I have to say, yeah, you already said it yourself as well, Leah. Like a visual novel style story about the end of a relationship is more interesting. I love that shit, especially if the end of the relationship, like it is here, is inevitable. It's just about how it's gonna happen, and there's nothing. I feel like in romance or whatever, there's nothing more satisfying to me than a healthy end of a relationship. That is in fictional storytelling, whatever. I love that. So I was all over this concept. I was hoping for a bit more choice. It always seemed very obvious what was the, good or bad choice or whatever. And I also couldn't quite relate to these characters, which seemed very of a certain type. However you want to say that. But I really respect this for the concept, and I think the execution is very solid. And this is definitely one that I would recommend to people interested. But honestly, and I mean, we talked about this on the Discord before, other games that would take this on, and I believe We Should Talk was also coming up in that conversation we had on the Discord. I want people, whoever's listening out there, if you have any recommendations for video games based on the end, focusing on the end of a relationship, please give us those recommendations. I guess we're both very much interested in that.
Yes. Yeah. The only other thing I would play like that is The Sims, which is my main outlet for just watching relationships die.
But that's not the kind of relationship ends that I want to see. Oh boy. Roy, did you get a chance to play this, or?
No, this was one I didn't vote for. I was considering playing it just because it's probably not that long, but I end up using my time on like the other Itchmas games I played. Basically, I might still play this because it is kind of short, and I played like a similar game called like Emily is Away like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't play this.
Okay.
I did play the next game though.
Okay, so let me introduce this one, and then you're off. The fifth game is called Sparwagen. Or I have a feeling it's gonna be Sparwagen. I think this is Swedish.
Sparwagen.
That sounded very good. By a developer named Dusty Room, nominated by previous podcast host Abatage. So Roy, take it away.
Well, this was the game I actually played during the podcast, funny enough.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's solid. Like, this is definitely another tech demo-y game, like Sewer Tales, in that, this is like a little 4-level proof of concept, it feels like. I feel unlike Sewer Tales, I'm more interested in what was there. Sewer Tales felt very basic. This felt like it's still basic, obviously it's a 4-level itch game, but it did feel more fleshed out conceptually. I could really easily see this game turned into like a 30-level pack puzzle game kind of thing,
Yeah.
Like, and it was fun. It was pretty easy. I only failed like once in the 4 levels, but it's like a 4-level pack, so like whatever. It's just like a nice little brain teaser. Figure out when to stop the guys, the trains, so that they don't collide. It took me a bit to realize you can only stop one train on a specific track at a time, but
yeah, one of each color. Yeah.
Like, but it would be really easy to see, like, you expand this to the third game, and, like, on the 5th or 7th level or whatever, now there's a yellow track, and now you have 3 track colors to deal with or something. This was pretty solid. I like this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I would also appreciate an expanded one that has more challenges as it goes on. I almost gave up on the last level because I was like, this is too hard and it's gonna be like more or whatever, and I took a break and came back and I was like, all right, let's try this one more, and it was like, congratulations, you're done. That would have sucked.
Quitting right at the end.
It reminded me a lot of Railbound and also Mini Metro.
Yeah, Mini Metro I thought too.
Yeah, like Railbound kind of has like the same sort of isometric trains section, but it's a little bit more puzzly. So I can see this being expanded out to the same way that Railbound is. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say, but I was I think this was one of the ones that I was like mostly excited for, just because I love these sort of like public transit, like control traffic sort of games. So
yeah, And it also has this really polished but minimalistic visual style, which is really nice. Really very clear.
I was just gonna say I thought the art style and like the vibe was very well done.
Yeah. I did some research. It is indeed Swedish. It's a Swedish word for tram, and it's pronounced Spårvagn.
All right.
Spårvagn. So there you go. Yeah, I'm with you. I would again pay good money for a fleshed out version of this. It has all the elements that it needs to be a good puzzle game, a reaction based puzzle game. Let's move on to game number 6, which has the short title of Packing Up the Rest of Your Stuff on the Last Day at Your Old Apartment by Turnfollow, nominated by user Kefrel. I love games with full sentence. So who played this?
I did.
I
3
did
times.
I did too.
I love this game, and I don't know why.
What the hell?
Sometimes
Why do you
like
love this
packing,
game?
you know?
No, I
apparently,
don't.
I don't know what it is.
Hear me out, Matt. Packing is just real life Tetris. You just gotta fit it all in the right spot.
That might be it.
Yeah, but
that might be it.
This, usually I would be down with that, but I didn't really feel that vibe from this game. But Leah, you go on first.
Well, it's funny because I played it originally not even paying attention to the directions. I was just like, throw things in a box, done. I can do that. And was not even paying attention, and I tried to get everything in the boxes. I think I was missing one thing. I donated like the plunger.
You donated? Is that what happened?
Yeah, the trash bag you can donate. That's the donate pile. So you can donate things.
Oh, okay.
And then like you don't have to like pack everything, but somebody, I forgot who it was on the Discord, said that they packed everything, and I was like, it's possible to pack everything? I have to do this again. I
did too. Yeah.
And then I went and I tried everything, and I got everything in, and I was like, okay, that's fun. And then I watched your playthrough, and you were able to turn stuff, and I didn't realize you could do that. So then
my God.
I went back and I played it again.
Oh no.
And then you still can't get everything in the boxes. I still had to end up donating. I think I donated like the pillow or the bike. I was like, I was like, oh, shoe boxes. Put the shoes in the box. The end. That's the end of that part. Now I just have to go with it. And then watching you do like I was like, wait a second, hold on. There's other things I can do. So I went back and I was like, I have to figure out how to pack everything in this box. I was like, I didn't even know you could twist things around. So then I played it again. Still couldn't figure it out. So I'll probably end up playing it tomorrow and just being like, all right, try
awesome.
4. Can I pack everything in these boxes? Because that was my main thing about unpacking when I played it. That I didn't like that there were certain things where I'm like, this clearly could fit there if you let me. But it's like, no. We have a story to tell and you can't put that there. And I'm like, oh my God, if you let me fit this somewhere, I would be able to pack this perfectly. So I was like, oh, this is another one that's doing that. So knowing that I could actually move things around, I was like, wait, hold on, I have to go back now.
Even with the pro tip of twisting and turning the items, I still felt that way many of times where very obviously there's an empty space, but it doesn't want me to put that there. It's also as the boxes fill up more and more, it gets harder and harder to actually turn the items because you're only allowed to turn and twist them inside of the box. I did not like that. And the only way, I mean, you've seen this in my Let's Play, I guess. The only way I could get everything in there was by having a lot of things stick out that would not, in a real world, allow you to actually close this box. The game doesn't care.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced there's a solution to get everything in the boxes without that. Yeah. I did not know you could donate things.
Yeah. I think I did it accidentally the first time and I was like, wait, I didn't know that's, and I had to like quit and start again. I was like, all right, let's try not to donate anything. Still had to donate.
That is making me rethink this whole game now. Because then you actually have decision making. What do you find valuable? Because you get a bit of like information or background knowledge about each item.
Right, yeah.
I wonder if that is actually the point. You make the decision what is valuable enough to keep in your next apartment and whatnot, while we were
Yeah.
just like monkeys trying to stuff everything in those shitty boxes. That is
Yeah.
completely recontextualizing this game now.
That does sound correct.
I also hadn't realized that the pictures change until your playthrough, like on the little menu on the side
yeah.
when you pick things up. And I was like, wait, I missed that. So I had to go back and look at all the pictures also. But like I read all the things about it and I was like, cool, check it in the box. So like I didn't even look at the background. So I was like, wait, now I gotta look at that now.
Yeah, I don't
Oddly
know.
replayable, this game.
I wouldn't want to. I did it once and it was enough. I didn't really. I like the idea, the concept, but I don't think it's that interesting to me. I guess. Let's move on.
Not a fan of real life.
No, I could pack my own boxes if I wanted to. Also, I feel like the whole box packing thing is like a whole plague going around the wholesome subgenre in gaming.
I will
like,
say I do agree with Diallo in the last episode complaining about cozy game.
The New Game Plus episode, yeah.
Yeah. Because that I feel similar, where it's like not every game needs to be multiple times over. Like we can have like our own things. Also, the games I find relaxing and cozy are not actually meant to be cozy, and all the cozy games that I tried to play are like the most chaotic things ever that I don't want to touch again. So, I mean, but yeah, the it's becoming like its own subgenre of like packing things up.
Yeah.
Where like
Mhm.
now I'm like, okay, as much as I love them, we don't need so many games about this. It's losing its like value after a while.
I want to believe that this packing up the rest of your stuff game was a recreation of the developer's actual,
Yeah.
experience or something. I would like that, but I don't know that, so that's just my own lore that I'm making up.
So that was a huge apartment for Chicago or wherever it was supposed to be.
It was a really
It was
nice
a gorgeous
apartment.
Yeah. It was a
Aside
gorgeous
from the
apartment.
railway right across your window, but
Yeah.
otherwise, dope.
I've been in apartments in New York that were closer to the train, so that probably
Jesus.
wouldn't be as loud as I've seen it happen. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fuck.
I do want to say just real quick that I'm glad Leah brought up the cozy game thing because I was really curious what her thoughts would be on it. And
Yeah.
I'm just glad that we got to hear them. That's all I wanted to say, really.
Yeah. We all hate wholesome things. Confirmed.
Only chaos and disaster.
Hatred.
And rats.
We love hatred. Yes. Game number 7 called Formless Star. Developed by Splendid Land, nominated by me, Matt. I think we had a Splendid Land game in a previous Itchmas as well. Formless Star, JRPG style game visually, where you go around a strange planet and just meet a bunch of creatures to, collect them in your little notebook. That is basically it. And the main attraction is the visual style, I would say, because the developer has an amazing, colorful, creative, art style that it lends these games. Gameplay-wise, very barren. Who here played this?
I did.
Sadly, I did not. This was the main game that I didn't get to that I wanted to play because I nominated
I feel like you'd
it.
enjoy
I
it.
didn't nominate it. I mean, I voted for it. That makes me very interested as well. But this was the one game I particularly wanted to get to that I don't have time for, and which I probably will play at some point, and maybe give thoughts in the future.
Okay.
Leah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was kind of fun in the art style. It's also kind of reminds me of what a game coming up. It was talking about how things used to be fun back in the day when it comes to the internet, and everything was brightly colored and individualistic. And this game kind of reminds me of if you could consolidate all the Tamagotchi 90s 2000s very cutesy kawaii aesthetic that was going around then and like galaxy stuff and just like squished it into a game, it would be this. It's like very Pokemon sort of Kirby sort
Yeah.
of world where it's like they don't really give you much of a story, but it's enough to like be like, okay, I have a mission. We're gonna do this mission. And then there's nothing else in this game besides just walking around
Yeah.
this map and just doing things. So it was enjoyable while I was doing it, and it's pretty easy to if you have the patience to the thing is that like you have all the tools at this onset. So like there's not even that aspect of a game where it's just like, oh, I have to find the tool to get past the water. I have to find the tool to get, across ice or something like that. It's like right off the bat, you have a ladder that will do anything for you, and you can just create bridges forever in any direction. So even that, I had that gate ripped off right away, and so you just basically had like access to the entire map, to all the different animals. I would say that maybe their animations went a little too long sometimes.
No, I disagree.
I
Some of
I I feel like some of them like like sometimes I would find one. I'm like, okay, we found you. Like I read your little bio. The end. Like I wanted to like cancel so many of the animations. I was like, why are we still watching you like do this Sailor Moon transformation into like my Pokedex, and then
hell yeah.
so I can continue on with my collecting and researching these animals. I very much enjoyed the creativity that went into making all the different forms of animals. Like there were things in there that I was like, I don't really even know what it's supposed to be, but I vibe with it a lot. So yeah, it was fun. I don't know how long it took them or like what this was made for, if there was any sort of game jam that was made for, but
No, it doesn't
it's
look
it's a
like it.
solid game that I would recommend people play. Like if they don't know anything about indie games, like just show them this. It's a free game that, it's a pretty short game, but it's still like a solid game that I think would explain a lot about like the type of games that you would be missing if you didn't play anything indie, where it's just like it's fun little quirky games that, still give you what you could get from like big games like Pokemon or Nintendo Fair, uh,
Yeah.
but in a smaller package.
So the developer also made a game called Franken, which was a winner in Itchmas 2023. I just researched that because I remembered there was something. And this Franken game had an actual, like it was leaning more towards classic RPG style, where you actually had to fight other creatures and like a story to complete and whatnot. And that already had the big assortment of creatures with really using their creative art style. So that was cool. Then I think I was hoping with Formless Star to actually get something more fleshed out, since Formless Star was also a more recent release. But yeah, it really does look like it was an even simpler game. I agree it is like a Warvie recommendation for somebody who just wants to have a chill time looking at funny creatures. The creature designs, obviously, and the animations that you like to skip were obviously, for me at least, like the main draw, the main attraction. When I see a funny little dude do a dance for maybe 20 seconds too much, too many, I was like, okay, work. That's actually dope. I'm here for it now. It was cute, but I didn't even bother to like get the 100% completion or whatever. Because there's a set amount of creatures that you can find, but they clearly they say just find 30 creatures, that's fine, whatever, like half of the creatures or whatever. You don't need to do much more, and I didn't strive for more. One day, I hope so much that one day this artist uses their skill for like a proper fleshed out game that challenges me a bit. That would be awesome.
Matt is begging for a challenge.
Yeah, but they also made a game called The Robots from Robot Wars, but they are lesbians. And that might challenge me in a good way. I want to look into whatever. Although I think even that is just... I think even that is just like an art zine and not a game. There's so much promise and then just disappointment. Anyway, that's a Formless Star. Game number 8. Now, this game number 8 was mentioned before in a previous episode by a certain someone, and that certain someone nominated as well here. Game number 8, One Night Hot Springs by NPC Casey, nominated by yours truly, Frozen Roy.
Thank you.
Want to start about this? Yeah, applause.
I could start about it, but since I did talk about it in the last episode, I guess I'll just ask to begin with, like, who else played this?
I did.
All right, I'm glad that both of you did, because I really wanted this game to be nominated. I'd nominated something else by this person before in Itchmas. They never won. I'll keep it short because I talked about this game, I feel like, at length last time. But I'll say that of the Itchmas games I played, technically I didn't play this during Itchmas because I played it in the nominated, obviously. This was my favorite, and I quite like it. I definitely want to look at other games in the little series of games of this. And, very, very nice art style, very cute. I like just in general the design, dialogue's very good. But I mostly want to let you two talk about it because I talked about it so much.
Yeah. As a recap, as a reminder, who hasn't, or somebody who hasn't listened to that episode where we already talked about this. This is a game, a visual novel style game where you play as a trans person who is invited by a friend to a what is it called? Like a spa. Like a
hot springs.
Hot springs. Fucking hell, it's in the title. I'm sorry. It's late over here. But
it's late for Matt. It's literally one night, hot springs.
Right. I feel like I've heard of this before, but especially after you mentioned it, Roy, on the previous episode, I was actually really, really interested in this. And I'm very happy it won in this Itchmas. And it did not disappoint either. It was a very well-written, visual novel about the trans experience and dealing with the anxieties that come with that in especially a revealing situation as a hot spring. I keep forgetting, Jesus Christ. and just like you, I am very much interested. And now to see other of the games, apparently they have like a whole library of other games under the belt.
Yeah.
And also I learned that One Night Hot Springs is part of a whole trilogy that you can buy for money on Steam, like a sort of more fleshed out thing that I will definitely get at some point.
I think it's also on Itch.
Yeah, I believe they are on it too.
Yeah, definitely a game that I really like to succeed with a subject that is very important, done in a very wholesome way. Yeah, Leah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I played this ages ago. I want to say, I think it was Tomato Clinic was their first game that I played. Then I played this one, and then they're one of the very few creators on Itch that I follow, and like anytime they have an update or something, I will jump in and see what's going on with that game and play it if I can. So yeah, this was, I think I got this in maybe one of the bundles that they do on Itch at some point. Because I remember it was a bunch of like very LGBTQ games that I was playing for a while from Itch. So yeah, it's just one of those games. It's another visual novel where, it just kind of has something to say other than just telling a story. Like, here's a perspective you may not have thought about in a situation you may not have thought about before. And it's an interesting way of giving people context and information for something like that, like certain things that you wouldn't have thought of, like, oh, why can't you just lie about your gender if you need to, be safer in certain things? Why can't you just do this sort of thing? If your friends are gonna invite you somewhere, just lie. And it's like, it's not that simple sometimes, where, sometimes you do have to think about like legal ramifications and like what's acceptable in culture and stuff like that. So yeah, I highly recommend a lot of other things from this creator. They're all like, there's this other one which I cannot pronounce, called Pong Yong or so. It's basically, if you know the game Venma, this is basically what I would assume they played this game and then decided to make Venma. Like, it's a lot. It's about like trying to teach you how to make this recipe, but there's like a language barrier in between you and your mother as you're playing it. So like, it's supposed to be like this very like cultural thing that you're making, but you're like, you don't really know what you're doing because like there's this barrier of culture and language. So like, it's slowly over time you know figure it out. But that was a very touching game for me to play, and so I honestly should just nominate that next time.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Short, and they're fun, and they're not too serious all the time. Like, this one got a little heavy at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a creator that I recommend people check out their stuff.
Definitely. I'm glad to hear everybody liked it so much when I nominated it. And
Yeah.
I would just add for Matt, the game I had nominated before by this person that didn't win is called Tomato Clinic. That's another fun, short little one that I would recommend.
Yeah, I remember that now that you have nominated it before. I have put it on my list as we spoke.
Nice, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad this was introduced to me, this developer. Definitely gonna do a deep dive into that stuff. And I also, yeah. I said I'm gonna buy the trilogy thing. I just did.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Breaking news. It is now in your backlog.
Yeah. Glowing recommendations all around for this one. So let's move on to the second to last game of this Itchmas in July. Game number 9 has another very, very short and brisk title. Individualism in the Dead Internet Age, an anti-big tech asset flip shovelware rant manifesto by Alien Melon, nominated by user Kefrel. Okay, I think Leah, you already said you played this. Roy, did you get to this? Or had any
No,
interest?
this was another one I didn't nominate. In part because I'd actually heard of this game before Itchmas on Backlog. And I know that there were a good amount of people who enjoyed it there, but I kind of felt like something I'm not sure how much I would enjoy. So this is something I kind of wonder if I will look at, but I didn't do it this time.
I played it. I loved it. I think next to One Night Hot Springs, it is probably going to be my favorite thing in this entire Itchmas in July. Definitely one of the ones that I'm going to be like remembering the most. This thing is a sort of educational walking simulator about the past of Web 2.0, the way we expressed ourselves in the earlier days of technology, of digital worlds, and how that has obviously shifted as corporations have come, taking more spaces, and how everything became streamlined. It is kind of a manifesto of the glory days where you had your own website and could do whatever you want on there. How we all, or many people, made their custom software because it was available and we could express ourselves that way. All of which is kind of overshadowed by corporations allowing or not allowing things now, and AI taking a lot of those spaces to be automated. Very striking visual look with a lot of, like the title says, a shovelware asset flip with lots of mixing of different digital objects and art styles whole as like retro futurism vibe going on as you walk through weird environments and get not only a voiced essay, but also proper links to like sources and archives relating to what this is all about. So really like genuinely an interactive essay with everything you would expect from a regular essay, just with the added bonus of fun visuals, interactivity. This was fascinating to me. It was a one-of-a-kind thing. Leah, what were your thoughts on this?
It was interesting that it is presented the way it's presented. It's almost like a museum. Kind of took it as a museum exhibit where like usually when I go to museums, like halfway through I have like information overload and I'm like, I'm not even processing what I'm looking at on the plaques anymore. So I end up just taking screenshots of everything. I'm like, I'll read that later because like I can't process. I'll just look at it and be like, cool, take a picture of the plaque, come back later and read it, in my downtime. But I'm processing my screenshots later. But which is what I did with this, like a walkthrough, and like as it was like telling me whatever the coin was about, I would click on the link and load it in my browser, and then I just had all the tabs to look at afterwards. Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot lately with, a lot of things with social media has just become like so big, and like before it was like you could go to different places and like if first of all if you wanted to start your own website you didn't have to make an account on a specific website to make that make an account profile whatever you kind of have to do with social media now. It was like you can just make whatever website pointed to whatever a host and just do whatever you wanted, and it didn't have to be connected to like a certain brand or whatever. And it was fun to mess around with things. Like the way I learned how to code was using a lot of like the view and like inspect element or inspect source on browsers and just like click around and do certain things. Like a lot of people talk about like, learning coding for MySpace and learning coding for, fixing up your profile or whatever. And I was like, that was like towards the end of that, because before it was like, no, I was coding for my own website. I was coding for like my own little thing, not my profile on somebody else's website.
Yeah.
It was nice to be reminded of like how fun it was and also how sad it's become. Like to realize even like as I personally have been like slowly getting off of all the social media websites, like I've left Facebook ages ago on Twitter and like Instagram. And it's like to realize that there's nothing else on the internet to do now besides the social media stuff. Like I've been getting into like crochet also, and then like looking at the websites, like the big website for crochet looks like it did in the like it would have looked in like the 2000s, and I'm like, why does this look so old? But also I'm like, wow, thank you for not like changing with the times and not looking so glossy and new like other things do. Which is also why I enjoyed a little bit more Formless Star, just to like get back to that cutesy era of things where like everything was like transparent plastic and everything had sparkles and glitter on it, which like I was never a person that liked sparkles and glitter to begin with, but it's like almost like I miss those days where things were just like tacky and silly and fun when they could be. What was interesting about this game in particular, or game if you could even call it that, was the way that the rooms, I guess, of each area that you would go through, and the way they had things set up. Like you can see like the different assets that they had. Like first it was like very clunky PCs, and then you start seeing like the cameras, the security cameras start sneaking in, and then like eventually like towards the end there's like Discord posts and like Reddit like screenshots, and I was like, man, like back in the beginning it was just like some text on a screen, and now it's like here's what it really looks like now. And I was like going through the timeline of the internet at the same time, even though like as I was clicking on all these pages that they had, a lot of them were just to the Internet Archive, and I was like, if it wasn't for the Internet Archive, these would be gone also. It's important to keep these sorts of things alive if we can, and so much is being lost, like even with video games being delisted even. And that's just one section of the internet. Like it's not just, I mean, Discord in itself is kind of become like everybody has that instead of a forum now.
Yeah,
And now
true.
to find any sort of like help on any sort of software that you're using, you have to go into a Discord, even though like you may not want to like join the community or whatever. It gets rough to have only one place to go for like certain things.
Yeah. It is generally crazy to think that we used to literally like, okay, not literally, but actually like surf the web by going through plenty of different crevices of the digital world. Nowadays, we just use 5 websites or whatever. I'm pretty sure the average person is literally just on like 10 websites their whole life or something like that.
Yeah.
Because everything is just streamlined and we don't have uses for any like actual individuality anymore.
People barely use bookmarks anymore. Also, like as I was trying to
True.
find people, as I leave social media sites and I'm like, oh, let me see where else this person is so I can find them somewhere else. And like nobody has a website. They're on one of the social media sites and that's it. Like they found their following, they stayed there, and that was it. And that's like all you'll ever see. So it's like if you leave this site, you'll never see this person online again.
And of course, as the title of this thing suggests, with the dead internet age, the fact that most content now is literally auto-created by software and is less and less actual human content on the internet is also just a fact that we just have to accept, I guess, at this point, which is just sad. Yeah. This used to be a space formed by us, humans. It is now just a space spammed by computers.
Although, as it goes for like most things, because it was the same thing with radio and it was the same thing with TV. And first, like with radio, it was like, oh, we can just have our own shows on the airwaves, and then it was like, now we're gonna have ads on the airwaves. And now, then it was like TV. It was like, oh, people are gonna have like public access TV. Anybody could have a TV show, and then it was just like, no, now the corporations are gonna have like their own channels and take over. Then it was like the internet where everyone can just be on YouTube, and it's like, no, now YouTube by Google. So it's like,
but yeah, all this to say that this was an incredibly unique way to present that point of view from a very knowledgeable place, it seems, as well. So I loved this. It was dope. I guess let's move on to the final and most voted for game. The 10th game being titled The Dark Queen of Mortholm or Morpholm by Mosu, nominated by R2D2 1999, which was an interesting switcheroo on a very familiar video game situation. Who played this here?
I did.
Me.
I would say of the Itchmas games I played, this was the second best out of them. And it was pretty good, I would say. I do wish it was a bit expanded, or maybe had a few more move, like one more move kind of thing. Kind of just a little bit of additional variety, because it does obviously repeat a fair amount, although that is also the entire point, to be fair. But
maybe let's give context to the actual situation of what this is about.
Right. I can give the context if you want, though.
Yeah, you go ahead.
The basic idea of this game is that it is an anti-game kind of thing, where you play the kind of like the final boss in an action RPG kind of game, and there is, you're fighting against the hero who starts the game dying pretty much to anything and doing nothing to you. But as you play more and more, their AI and moveset expands and gets better, while you remain the same. You have kind of slow, weighty attacks like you'd expect from a boss. And there's multiple endings kind of based on how you select dialogue choices, beat them, kind of thing. And I thought it was pretty good. It got the style and feel of being a weighty boss with heavy startup down very well. I thought the dialogue felt snappy and natural. Although, honestly, from the dialogue, I thought it might go in a romantic direction, although it did not do so. The visuals were quite nice. The sprite art was good. I felt pretty satisfied with this game. Just in general, I feel like it was one of those games I liked because it didn't feel like a tech demo, honestly. It felt like a reasonably complete thing by itself, even if it is a short thing. And combined with being pretty good at what it was, I just kind of generally enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. This was a really interesting spin on the dynamic between a player and a boss NPC. Basically, it's fun to see the growing, I guess, existentialism, for a lack of a better word, in the NPC boss that you control. As you don't grow as the NPC, but the player learns with each respawn the hero character that you fight. It's a really fun twist on the regular experience to give it a more of a exploring that dynamic between these two characters. I do agree. It does get repetitive, though, just by the nature of the setting, because you keep fighting the same fight again and again. So honestly, I'm assuming you get like, maybe there is no good, bad ending thing, whatever. Obviously, there's multiple endings, but I don't know if there's like a best ending. Maybe there's a super duper epic super ending if you actually win every fight against the hero forever. But I wouldn't even want to do that because it's too tedious. I was actually glad at some points to lose and get to a conclusion to the story, which I was fine with. But yeah, the concept is awesome. Leah, what do you say?
Yeah, I pretty much enjoyed this one a lot. I think it was my keyboard, because now I'm realizing I had issues with another one of the itch games and in the same way. So I think it may have been my user error and not the game. But for some reason, when I was trying to go left or right in this game, if I just held the key down, it would only do one step. So I had to constantly tap, 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 tap in order to get them across the room.
Sucks. Oh
That does
So I was
suck.
like, this is so annoying. And I was like, I don't know why. But there was another game, I forgot which one it was, but there was another game that I was playing that it also happened in. So I was like, maybe it's actually just my keyboard.
I think so too.
But I wanted to play this with a controller, but my bird was on me at the time, so I couldn't reach my controller. So I was like, I guess I'm playing it with the keyboard. But I would enjoy a more full-fledged version of this. And I did notice that there is something on Steam that says that it's going to release in a few weeks or so. And one of the tags on Steam says romance. So I'm very confused about where that tag is coming from. So I'm assuming
New
there's
ending,
going to be
maybe?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I've always wanted something along these lines where you get to see the reverse of a final boss, or even just playing from a lackey's perspective in a game. So that was very enjoyable. Um, I was hoping, and I'm glad that there was actually multiple sections to the fight, and it wasn't just like, this is your move set and that's it. Like, she does actually have a second
face, yeah.
second portion to her.
Yeah, I agree.
Tough to play knowing that the point is for you to die. Even though there's multiple endings, I only got the one. So I do want to go back and replay this and see if I can get the other ending. And then if whatever happens with the Steam release, I will probably play it on Steam as well. But yeah, this was enjoyable, and I think might have been, outside of packing up your stuff, I think, and the individualism one, I think this probably was my favorite of this Itchmas.
I also just saw This is made by the same person who made Story Seeker, which was a winner in Itchmas in the past, and Story Seeker ruled. So yeah, okay, they got 2 awesome games, or good, interesting, unique games under the belt now. I didn't know about this until now. I don't know if I need a fleshed out version of this. I mean, I guess that would be nice, but it also gets to its point well. I really don't know what that Steam release is gonna be or add. It deserves a proper spot for people to see it. So, now that we have talked about all the Itchmas in July games, there's only one thing left to do for us. It is time for another round of Guess the Game, where the aim of the game is to guess the game. Leah, you have prepared this one?
Yes, I have. Okay. This is a game that you both have completed.
Okay.
Which works out because now Diallo's not here. So now it's everybody has played this game.
Hell yeah.
The first note is by user Lieutenant_Gruber with a time of 10 hours. And the notes are completed the main story.
Oh boy.
It's got to
10-hour
have a
game.
non-main story then.
Main story. Yeah. A very, very open space we're working with here. But this is also a game that Roy and I have played, so
yeah,
that might be a very narrow space. It can't be a JRPG. It can't be Tetris. What else is there between two of us? 10 hours.
Did you ever play Cosmic Star Heroine?
No, that's on my backlog. I like the dev, but that's an interesting hint. Have you played? If you are familiar with their dev, and we both have played something maybe from that dev, I'm gonna say, what's that Cthulhu game? Cthulhu Saves the World is my guess. From the same dev.
Well, alright.
Well, it's a first round. Who knows?
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, not gonna lie, I said that because I haven't actually played that game.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I didn't want to ask and be a cheater.
10-hour game that has to have some kind of like non-main story.
Could just be collectibles or something. Side quests. What the hell have we both played?
I'm also stuck in like, what have you played with me that fits this criteria?
Yeah. Do you game, Matt?
No, I hate video games. We've established this.
It's not allowed. Simply not allowed to like video game.
Yeah.
I really have no idea, so I'm just gonna say like fucking. Oh man. I haven't beaten that, so that one's gonna be reasonable. Kirby Superstar?
Nope.
I don't know.
I haven't played that. But Kirby is
I didn't think so.
Kirby was not a bad path to go. So what's the next clue?
Next clue is by Riptor with a time of 5 hours and 2 minutes. And the note is all tokens.
5 hours, 2 minutes, all tokens.
Oh. All tokens. I'm gonna guess Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue.
Oh, fuck off. That's good. Shit.
Because I think you've beaten that.
Yeah. Yep. That's a really good guess. I think you're gonna be right. I'm gonna just say, so we get to the results. Fucking New Super Mario Brothers.
Nope. Roy has it.
Yeah,
Yes!
that makes sense. That was a good guess. Yeah.
The next
Oh.
clue was going to be, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Z13 Dritch at 7 hours, and the note is finished all levels, earned all pizza tokens, earned platinum.
Damn. Them
Yeah,
pizza
the pizza
tokens,
tokens would
dude.
have given that away.
I did not remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I feel good about that one.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad to be back where I belong, at the bottom of the scoreboard. Yeah, but that's a great game. I need to go back to that as well. If I had replayed this as I had planned for months already, I might have had a better shot. It is all my fault.
I remember it being quite good, honestly. Like, pretty good.
It's awesome. It's fantastic. But yeah, that wraps up this, as always, very snappy and short episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening, as always. Please feel free to put your weirdest pizza toppings or your recommendations about breakup games into the comments. We would love to hear both. And thank you for listening. Adieu.
Bye.
Bye.